Chapter 609. Xing Lai had already made up his mind before coming here. If Emperor Yi could really appraise such a divine item, it meant that he had surpassed all the appraisers in the middle plane. It wouldn't be an exaggeration for him to become the #1 appraiser. Then, Quang Fu Auction House would definitely become the #1 auction house in the future. Staying in Quang Fu Auction House would definitely be a good choice. But now, he was so frightened by Great Sovereign Shura's words that he didn't even dare to raise any conditions. Yi Qinghan smiled, agreeing to Xing Lai's request. He said indifferently, "Right now, only the two of you know the use of the primal chaos divine source. If word of this gets out, don't blame me for coming after you personally." Old Luo was scared stiff by Yi Qinghan's battle prowess, especially with the primal chaos divine source supporting Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was an existence that never knew fatigue. As long as he set his eyes on you, you wouldn't be able to escape even if you fled to the ends of the earth. I wouldn't dare. Old Luo bowed slightly, not daring to say anything else. Xing Lai was a person with a bottom line. Before coming here, he had already resigned from his position as the chief appraiser of Mu Clan's auction house. He was staking everything on this one throw. Since he had already surrendered, he wouldn't betray Yi Qinghan. The four of them flew to the southern mountain pass. As soon as they entered the southern mountain pass, they entered Quang Fu Auction House's territory. Even a small border town was extremely prosperous. There were no wars or conflicts. It was very peaceful. When everyone saw Yi Qinghan, they all bowed respectfully. Yi Qinghan didn't put on any airs. Even if it was an ordinary child, he would still smile and bow back. In Quang Fu Auction House, the hearts of the people were united. The various sects and factions seemed like scattered sand, but when Quang Fu Auction House was in trouble, these disorderly factions would definitely unite. Those who won the hearts of the people ruled the world. If Quang Fu Auction House didn't have the hearts of the people, it would be like the Mu clan. Once it was attacked, the various factions would only surrender and betray it. It was only a matter of time before they fell. However, Quang Fu Auction House's territory was different. Quang Fu Auction House gave them a sense of belonging. Whoever dared to attack Quang Fu Auction House would be attacking their home. Yi Qinghan's mind as he looked at Quang Fu Auction House's mind. Xing Lai also felt very comfortable watching this. He felt that submitting to Yi Qinghan wasn't a bad thing. The guard of the southern mountain pass was Roger. When he heard that Yi Qinghan had arrived, he was about to personally welcome him when he saw the chaos in the southern mountain pass. He couldn't help but frown. This was the first time he had seen such a situation. He quickly led a small team and rushed over. "Pa! Scram! I am a member of the Iron Battle Mercenary Group. Even the prefecture's official army wouldn't dare to make things difficult for us. How dare a ragtag army like you meddle in our business? Are you courting death?" A burly man led 7 to 8 men and beat a group of 10 guards out of the restaurant. He was even dragging the restaurant's owner with him. There were also a few other men surrounding 2 beautiful ladies. However, the 2 ladies' faces were pale and helpless. They had been badly frightened. "This is the crazy Manor's territory. How dare you cause trouble here? Are you tired of living?" The captain scolded angrily. The ordinary guards of the southern mountain pass were only emperor-level experts. They were only responsible for patrolling the city and weren't of much use. They were no match for the Iron Battle Mercenary Group. The 10 guards were kicked out of the restaurant. The captain's face was red with 5 finger marks. "How dare you bully girls? What kind of heroes are you? This is my restaurant. I won't allow you to behave so atrociously." The owner was an old man who looked to be in his 60s or 70s. At this moment, he was facing 7 or 8 Iron Battle Mercenary Group's priests without batting an eyelid. This was the Crazy Manor's territory. The Crazy Manor would naturally support him. Oh! How dare a puny emperor speak to this god like this? Pa pa. A few consecutive slaps were heard. The crisp sound traveled far and wide. More and more people gathered around. When they saw the owner and guards being beaten, they all glared at the Iron Battle mercenary group. Some priests even came over to reprimand the mercenaries for letting go of the old man and the girl. If you still want to mingle outside in the future, mind your own business. The Southern Mountain Pass is also the territory of the Iron Battle mercenary group. A few mercenaries said arrogantly and disdainfully. Is that so? This is the first time I've heard that the Southern Mountain Pass is your territory. Roger appeared outside the restaurant with a 100-man team and directly surrounded the mercenaries. When he saw the old man and his guards being beaten, he couldn't help but emit a murderous aura. Commander Roger, I am the captain of the Iron Battle Mercenary Group's 4th Corps' 27th Battalion, Chen Zihao. Today, I brought my brothers to carry out a mission and passed by this place to have a drink. However, this old bastard actually dared to sell me fake drunken god wine. These two waiters' attitudes were even worse. When I taught them a lesson, your subordinates actually wanted to arrest us without distinguishing between right and wrong. What do you take the Iron Battle Mercenary Group for? As the superintendent of the Southern Mountain Pass, you must give me an explanation. The captain of the mercenary team complained coldly. Chen Zihao. Roger disdained. What Iron Battle Mercenary Group? In the Crazy Manor's territory, even the princes and masters of the manor had to stand obediently. Sir Superintendent, you have to uphold justice for me. I'm selling the authentic drunken god wine, but how could the goods in your hands be fake wine? This group of people took liberties with my two obedient granddaughters, that's why I had a conflict with them. The old man hurriedly explained. Roger stared at the handprint on the old man's face and his murderous intent intensified. As the supervisor of the Southern Mountain Fortress, not only was he responsible for the safety of the place, he was also involved with every merchant here. The Southern Mountain Fortress army knew how to do business too. They sold some wine to earn some money. Yi Qinghan had given them permission to do so, so he knew every merchant here. Do the 8 of you want me to make a move, or do you want to break into the Southern Mountain Pass? Roger asked indifferently. So what if we break through? Chen Zihao said proudly. He did not believe that the superintendent of the Southern Mountain Pass would dare to offend the Iron Battle Mercenary Group. If you want to break through, I will let you die under the arrows. If you want me to make a move, you will die under the blades of my army. I, Roger, am a man of my word. Roger's aura rose as he waved his hand. More than 100 personal guards behind him immediately surrounded him. More than 100 priests moved in unison. Their spears pierced through the air with a terrifying aura, directly suppressing the 7 ordinary mercenaries. Chen Zihao wanted to make a move, but he was suppressed by the army led by Roger. The ground cracked, and the people outside were all scared away. Roger, if you dare to make a move against me, it's the same as declaring war against the Iron Battle Mercenary Group. Chen Zihao threatened. So be it. You dare to behave atrociously in the Southern Mountain Pass? Why don't you take a piss and take a look at your own territory? Roger said with disdain. He took the 2 girls out from the army and ordered the army to suppress the mercenaries' godheads. He coldly said, drag them out and burn them to death. What? You dare? Chen Zihao jumped in fright. Who would dare to kill the Iron Battle Mercenary Group's people? Would the Mu clan dare? Absolutely not. But Quan Zong dared. The Lord of the Southern Mountain Pass dared. Quickly drag them out and burn them to death. Remember to take out the godheads, don't waste them. Roger impatiently said. Roger. The army dragged the 8 mercenaries out of the city and forcefully took out the godheads. They burned Chen Zihao and the others alive outside the city. Roger's purpose was not only to intimidate the outsiders, but also to calm the hearts of the merchants. As long as they were doing business in the southern mountain pass, they would not be afraid of being bullied. Even the heavens would die if they dared to bully the people of the southern mountain pass, let alone the people of the Iron Battle mercenary group. Old Mister, consider this lesser deity's godhead as compensation. You have been frightened today. You must accept it. Roger generously handed over a lesser deity's godhead to the old man. His attitude was firm. The old man had no choice but to accept it. The old man was shocked. He received a godhead just by taking a few slaps. These slaps were too worth it. One must know that he had worked hard for his entire life just for a godhead. The southern mountain pass immediately boiled over. With such a lord protecting them, why would they be afraid of being bullied? The people's hearts were united. Everyone cheered loudly for the might of the Quang clan. Roger's unintentional actions caused a shocking incident in the southern mountain pass. The impact was so great that the war affected several major clans. Yi Qinghan had just passed by the southern mountain pass when he saw the hubbub of voices. It seemed to be very lively. He couldn't help but lead the way. When he passed by the city gate, he felt the hot fire element restless. There was also a pile of ashes outside the city. He couldn't help but frown. What's going on? How can you kill people so casually? Yi Qinghan looked at the guards and asked in a low voice. The Quang clan was particular about peace and prosperity. Moreover, they were still in the development phase. It was not the right time to start a war. When Roger learned that Yi Qinghan was already outside the city, he hurriedly led his personal guards over and explained the situation in detail. He also explained the need to punish the mercenaries. Yi Qinghan nodded and said, "If you dare to kill people like this, then just kill them. Don't feel guilty. If the Iron Battle mercenary group dares to hold them accountable, just tell Iron Battle to come to me." With Yi Qinghan backing him up, Roger's back immediately stiffened. The news of the Quang clan's southern mountain pass superintendent killing 8 members of the Iron Battle mercenary group spread like wildfire. The Iron Battle mercenary group reacted strongly. There wasn't even the most basic communication. Iron Battle personally led an army of over 1 million soldiers outside the southern mountain pass and demanded that Roger commit suicide as an apology. Otherwise, they would start a war. The incident in the southern mountain pass immediately alerted the nearby big manors. A few powerful factions supported the Iron Battle mercenary group and sent troops to the southern mountain pass. A war was about to break out. However, the army Shattering Manor and the Mu Manor, which were closest to the Quang clan, didn't say anything. They didn't help the mercenary group or the Quang clan. They just watched quietly. The people who helped the Iron Battle mercenary group were the people that Han Yuan had asked for. They had been planning this war for a long time, but they didn't have an excuse. Now that the mercenaries had been burned alive, Iron Battle didn't ask for a reason. He only wanted Roger to commit suicide as an apology. When Yi Qinghan found out, he personally led 300,000 dragon riders to the southern mountains pass. He stood on the southern mountains pass walls, his cold eyes emitting a terrifying intent as he coldly said, "Have your commander, Tai Zhan, come out and speak. This old man is Yi Qinghan. I will only give you the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn. Either you kill Roger and his 100 soldiers yourself, or you hand them over to me. This is my bottom line. If you don't agree, don't blame this old man for not giving you face." Iron Battle replied coldly while standing on a ferocious beast. Strike at the heart. If Yi Qinghan handed Roger over, who would dare to join the Quang clan in the future? Do you think that's possible? Idiot. Only I can deal with my soldiers. Who do you think you are? How dare you ask me for my men? Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Chapter 610. Yi Qinghan wasn't polite at all. The Iron Battle mercenary group was obviously here for the crazed manor, so it was better to be firm than to say nice things. Taizhan didn't expect Yi Qinghan to suddenly say such a thing. This wasn't normal at all. Arrogant to the extreme. How dare you speak to me like this and indulge your subordinate like this? You're looking down on everyone in the world. Taizhan's aura rose as he stared at Shura, who was beside Yi Qinghan. He was waiting for Lai Sek's sect master to arrive so that the two of them could join forces to take down the crazed manor. You're the one indulging your subordinate, Taizhan. If you want to fight, there's no need to find such a despicable excuse. Just declare war, and my crazed manor will accept it. You can declare war, but my crazed manor will decide whether to stop or not. Yi Qinghan replied coldly. What arrogance! If you don't hand Roger over to me today, then there's no need for the crazed manor to exist. Taizhan said domineeringly. In that case, let's start the war. Fire. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 300,000 soldiers of the southern mountain pass were already ready. The archers fired thousands of arrows, each of which was covered in the 7 deadly poisons, covering the sky and earth. Taizhan was shocked. He thought that Yi Qinghan would beg for mercy and quibble to stall for time. He didn't expect him to attack first. The mercenary group wasn't prepared, so they suffered heavy losses. Thousands of people were killed as soon as the battle started. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Another wave of arrows rained down, but this time, the mercenary group was prepared. They set up a barrier formation to block the arrows. Yi Qinghan rose into the sky, holding his saber with both hands. He slashed at the formation with the 12th grade fire origin. Taizhan, right? Come and fight with me. Otherwise, don't blame me for attacking your mercenary group. Shura roared, shaking the mountains and rivers. Boom boom boom. Yi Qinghan seemed to have gone crazy. He slashed out more than 100 times in an instant, causing the ground to crack. The army resisted with all their might, and many emperor-level mercenaries were killed. Taizhan followed Shura out. The mercenary group's vice leaders looked at each other and rushed toward Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's saber slashed apart the space-time order, causing the barrier to tremble. Open! Yi Qinghan was incomparably domineering. His divine power poured out in torrents as he single-handedly fought against 1,000,000 mercenaries. Divine splendor illuminated the heavens, the might of the berserk, the world revered it. With the primal chaos divine source, Yi Qinghan could attack regardless of the cost. This saber strike forced the Iron Battle mercenary group to defend with all their might. There was no way they could complete their attack preparations. Even the vice-captain had no choice but to defend himself. Boom! Boom! Yi Qinghan slashed out another 100 times, shaking the southern mountains fortress to the point of shattering the heavens and shattering the earth. Rocks and boulders flew in all directions. The heroes watched on with their hearts trembling in fear. They had never seen such a crazy manor head before. He was able to force 1,000,000 mercenaries into submission with his strength alone. 500 slashes, 1,000 slashes. The mercenaries held on for dear life as they sneered at Yi Qinghan in the sky. This reckless bastard. When your divine power runs out, the insane manor will lose without a fight. The mercenaries even hoped that Yi Qinghan would continue attacking. They hoped that Yi Qinghan would run out of divine power and be captured alive. Then, the insane manor's territory would belong to the Iron Battle mercenary group. After 2,000 slashes, Yi Qinghan looked at the mercenaries like a tortoise shell. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break through. He couldn't help but frown. The mercenaries thought that Yi Qinghan didn't have much divine power left. They were about to give up on the defensive barrier and attack the southern mountains fortress. However, they didn't expect Yi Qinghan's aura to continue rising. It was as if he had merged with the heavens and earth, turning into a divine saber that could tear apart the universe. The divine saber combined and the 10-direction seal appeared in Yi Qinghan's hand. Yi Qinghan's deep voice reverberated. The divine saber whistled and broke through the shackles. The 10-direction seal in his hand suddenly enlarged and covered the sky. The universe is in 10 directions. When the 10-direction seal appears, the great Tao will collapse, the order will be established, yin and yang will be reversed, and I will be mad. Suppress. Yi Qinghan leaped into the sky. The divine saber shone brightly, illuminating the 9 heavens. The origin of chaos erupted with a monstrous power that seemed to want to destroy the universe. At this moment, the power poured into the 10-direction seal. Yi Qinghan was actually using the superior divine weapon. Boom boom boom. The southern mountains fortress almost collapsed. The mighty divine aura suppressed all living things. The 1 million mercenaries were terrified. They felt as helpless as if they were facing a superior god. They didn't dare to resist. Ah! No, no. What is this? Even the vice-captain was terrified. He looked up at the 10-direction seal descending from the sky. It was as if he would be suppressed even if he ran to the ends of the earth. The will of a superior god was not to be resisted. Everyone, go all out. Block this attack. If you don't block it, you will die. Only by blocking it can we live. The mercenaries were in chaos, especially the ordinary mercenaries. Tens of thousands of them were scared to death. Only those above the level of a superior god unleashed all their power and blocked the sky. They hoped to use the power of hundreds of thousands of priests to reverse yin and yang and break the order of the 10-direction seal. Boom! The 10-direction seal descended and smashed directly above the mercenaries. The southern mountains fortress almost collapsed, and the shockwaves spread for 1,000 miles. If it weren't for the defense of the southern mountains fortress, the fortress would have been destroyed by the shockwaves. My lord is mighty. Cheers came from the southern mountains fortress. Boom! Hundreds of thousands of priests were forced to kneel on the ground. Their kneecaps were shattered and sunk into the ground. Puff! Hundreds of thousands of people coughed up blood at the same time. The ordinary mercenaries were killed by the shockwaves of the 10-direction seal. Many experts who were watching from the sidelines coughed up blood and were sent flying. Their divine bodies were torn apart by the shockwaves, and their godheads were almost shattered. The miserable cries of the Iron Battle mercenaries were heard everywhere. They thought that the insane sect would be suppressed, but they didn't expect that the appearance of the insane sect would be enough to defeat the mercenaries. Suppress. The 10-direction seal became restless again and broke through the desperate struggle of hundreds of thousands of mercenaries. Countless mercenaries were suppressed and died tragically on the spot. Their corpses were smashed into the ground. A huge crater appeared in front of the southern mountains fortress. It was so deep that the bottom couldn't be seen. Hundreds of thousands of mercenaries were left in an instant. The 3 vice-captains escaped with their lives. Their faces were pale as they stood in place, trembling in fear. They looked at Yi Qinghan as if they were looking at a superior god. How is this possible? How can a lesser perfected god use such a powerful divine weapon? No one could understand. If it weren't for the divine weapon, Yi Qinghan wouldn't even be able to break through the Iron Battle mercenaries' defenses. But with the 10-direction seal, he killed hundreds of thousands of mercenaries in an instant. The Iron Battle mercenaries, known as one of the top 10 mercenaries in the Middle Realm, was destroyed in an instant. No. Taizhan went berserk. He was proud of his mercenary regiment and believed that his 1 million mercenaries would be able to withstand the attack of a powerful manor head. However, he didn't expect that they wouldn't be able to withstand a single attack from Yi Qinghan. Taizhan was indeed worthy of being the captain of one of the top 10 mercenaries. His battle prowess was extraordinary, and his battle intent was much stronger than Mansion Master Gong Yang's. Yi Qinghan, I want you dead. Taizhan roared. He couldn't wait to kill Grand Monarch Shura and torture Yi Qinghan to death. Brat, You'll be lucky if you can defeat me. Grand Monarch Shura said disdainfully. If it weren't for the great Tao of heaven and earth suppressing 99% of his battle prowess, he could crush Taizhan instantly. Although he couldn't kill Taizhan, he could still suppress him. The purest mystery of heaven and earth appeared in Grand Monarch Shura's hand. The Shura warblade instantly cut through space and time, and order was under his will. Swish, 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 the great Tao of Saber connected with the great Tao of heaven and earth, and it was unstoppable. Bang! The giant halberd in Taizhan's hand couldn't stop Grand Monarch Shura's Shura warblade. The giant halberd was full of cracks, and it looked like it would break at any moment. Taizhan kept retreating, and Grand Monarch Shura kicked him in the chest. Boom! Taizhan was kicked away. He had come with great momentum, but he was defeated too quickly. It was completely unacceptable. Shura disdainfully smashed space and time with the Shura warblade in his hand. He wanted to kill Taizhan with one strike. Whoosh! Space and time kept collapsing. Taizhan was terrified. He wanted to dodge, but he felt that the blade had locked onto him. No matter how he dodged, he couldn't escape death. This is impossible. You're not. Taizhan seemed to have guessed that Shura wasn't from the great Tao of heaven and earth, but he didn't have the chance to continue. The Shura warblade was already in front of him. Whoosh! Just when everyone thought that Taizhan was going to die, a fiery sword tore through space and time and slashed at Grand Monarch Shura's back as fast as lightning. Grand Monarch Shura frowned and gave up on killing Taizhan. He tore through space and time and left, appearing beside Yi Qinghan. Another prefecture master-level existence had arrived. It was Lai Zhangtian, the sect master of the Lai sect. He was known as the Fire Sword God and had reached the peak of swordsmanship. He was a famous mansion master. Lai Zhangtian was wearing a fiery golden robe. He held a fiery sword in his hand and a fiery belt around his waist. His eyes seemed to spit fire and steal people's souls. Whoosh! The Snow Clan's patriarch, dressed in white and holding a 5-foot-long Lingshao sword, appeared in front of Taizhan. The three mansion masters had led their armies to the southern mountain pass and looked down at them. Yi Qinghan frowned. He didn't know these people at all. He hadn't even heard of them, let alone hated them. Are you also here to fight against the crazy sect? Yi Qinghan asked in a deep voice. Taizhan got up and said angrily, "Friends, please help me. I only want revenge. I don't want any of the crazy sect's benefits." The Snow Clan's patriarch and Lai Zhangtian weren't stupid. Taizhan was no match for Grand Monarch Shura, and Yi Qinghan had killed hundreds of thousands of mercenaries. Their peak combat power surpassed that of an ordinary mansion master. It wouldn't be easy to destroy the crazy sect. Whoosh! Whoosh! If you want revenge, without the 5 mansion lords, you'll just be throwing your lives away. Yi Qinghan said confidently. You think too highly of yourselves. Taizhan snorted and said to Lai Zhangtian and D Monarch, Yi Qinghan can't use his divine weapon continuously. It's easy to kill him. Do you want to help? You're courting death. Taizhan, if you dare say another word, I'll kill you instantly. Grand Monarch Shura threatened. Taizhan's face was pale. He looked at Grand Monarch Shura, and his thoughts became more and more intense. Shura wasn't from the mythical realm. Chapter 6:11. At this moment, the southern mountain pass had gathered 4 prefecture lords. Yi Qinghan, who had a superior divine artifact, was one of them. More than 20 arrogant faction inner sect experts were another. The southern mountain pass was brewing, and the murderous intent was getting stronger. Soon, 2 more lords arrived in front of the southern mountain pass. They were the lords of the Mu clan and the Shattered Army clan. The aura became strange. Both sides were very careful. The Lord's combat power was about the same, and only Lord Gongyang was slightly weaker. One more lord would determine the outcome of the battle. Palace Master Mu fell silent. People would die in a chaotic battle between palace masters. Even the high and mighty palace masters would die in battle easily. Even if Grand Monarch Shura was very strong, he could die in battle at any time if he was surrounded, let alone Palace Master Mu. It was one thing to build a relationship with Yi Qinghan, but if he couldn't even keep his life, he wouldn't be alive to enjoy the benefits. Shattered Army stood in the distance and didn't say anything. He seemed to have sensed that Yi Qinghan was very powerful. It wouldn't be good to offend him now, even though he hated Yi Qinghan and the crazy manner. If it weren't for them, the Mu clan would have been taken down. The two sides faced each other. The Mu clan and the Shattered Army clan didn't say anything. The aura around them was suppressed, and the world was still. Han Mang stood in the distance and watched everything. He couldn't help but frown when he saw that the crazy manner was suppressing the three lords. He wanted to contact the Wild Blade Union, but there was no suitable place for him to enter the alternate space to contact the other lords. The higher-ups of the three divine nations were already aware of the three powerful manor heads' arrival at the Southern Mountains Pass. They quickly reacted, wanting to rope in Yi Qinghan at this moment. They all sent out manor heads to the Southern Mountains Pass. The Western Garrison Prefecture, which was located west of the Crazy Manor, was the westernmost prefecture of the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom. The prefecture lord was an expert from the older generation of the royal family. After receiving the message, he personally crossed a region and appeared in front of the southern garrison. The lords of the spiritual god manor of the Sanqing Divine Kingdom and the battle god manor of the Shattered Army Divine Kingdom had also arrived. The incident in the Southern Mountains Fortress was getting more and more serious, and it seemed to have reached a point of no return. More and more manor head-level powerhouses were gathering. In less than half a day, 9 mansion masters had arrived at the Southern Mountain Pass. And that was not including Yi Qinghan and the inner sect of the Insane Sect. Roger was a little stunned. He didn't expect his actions to cause such a huge incident in the Southern Mountains Pass, and it seemed to be getting worse. As soon as the Spiritual Gods Manor, West Suppression Manor, and War Gods Manor's manor lords arrived at the Southern Mountain Fortress, they immediately sent a voice transmission to Yi Qinghan, hoping that Yi Qinghan would lead the crazed manor to pledge their loyalty to the divine nation. As long as Yi Qinghan agreed, the divine nation would step in to settle this matter. Yi Qinghan groaned. Was this considered looting a burning house? However, this was not the time to offend these three forces. After all, they were the strongest forces in the mythical dimension. Yi Qinghan said to the three divine nations, for the time being, there is no need for your divine nations to step in. My crazed manor can still deal with it. If we can't, we will naturally prioritize your sincerity. The three mansion masters didn't say much. They just stood far away in their own territory, watching the complicated situation unfold. Why don't the 5 of you state your intentions? Taizhan frowned. The 5 of them had appeared without saying anything. They couldn't focus on dealing with the insane sect. He couldn't help but feel depressed. At this moment, Mu Clan's war god temple's Lu Jing also arrived. His only son was in the insane sect. Now that the insane sect was under attack by so many mansion masters, how could he not come? Lu Jing didn't hesitate to stand on the insane sect's side. Although he wasn't a mansion master, he had already reached the peak middle level. Although his combat strength was slightly weaker than the mansion masters, his combat strength couldn't be ignored. Once Lu Jing stood on the mansion master's side, Mu Clan's mansion master had no choice but to do so. Otherwise, he would lose the support of the people and offend Yi Qinghan. The insane sect is a force that developed from the Mu clan. Besieging the insane sect is the same as besieging the Mu clan. This old man has no choice but to stand on the side. Mu clan's mansion master said in a deep voice. Brother Mu, Kuang Fu was the one who declared war on my mercenary group first. You have to think carefully before you do anything. If you choose the wrong side, you won't be so lucky next time. Tai Zhan warned coldly. That's right. The Southern Mountain Pass superintendent is too presumptuous. He directly killed a small group of our mercenary group. This is the same as declaring war on Tai Zhan. Does the Mu clan also want to declare war on the Iron Battle mercenary group? The Snow clan's patriarch asked coldly. Who are you? Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and looked at the Snow clan's patriarch. The Snow clan's patriarch, Xue Qinggu. Xue Qinggu said coldly. Xue Qinggu, as the patriarch of a clan, you can't even distinguish between right and wrong. So, according to you, if the insane sex army were to randomly bully people and beat up the Snow clan's guards, would the Snow clan respectfully send them back? Yi Qinghan asked disdainfully. What do you think the Snow clan is? Of course we would kill them on the spot if they dared to behave so atrociously in the Snow clan. Xue Qinggu replied angrily without even thinking. I had the same idea as you, so I killed them all. Do you think Roger was wrong to kill them? Yi Qinghan asked indifferently. Xue Qinggu's breath stagnated. He was speechless. Bully people and beat up the guards of the insane sect. Who can testify? You killed them. The dead can't testify. You can do whatever you want. Tai Zhan said coldly. The dead can't testify. The thousands of merchants and guests in the Southern Mountain Pass can testify that day. You want me to summon all of them here for you to confront? Yi Qinghan said calmly. Those are all your people. This old man doesn't believe it. Also, Yi Qinghan, you used a divine artifact to suppress 1,000,000 of my mercenaries. It's clear that the insane sect doesn't care about people's lives. A murderous demon like you, this old man will punish you on behalf of the heavens. Tai Zhan said domineeringly. Since you said so, there's no need to reason with me. Let's fight. I want to see if you can win against the insane sect. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Let's fight. There's no need to talk so much nonsense. If reason doesn't work, then we can only use our fists. Whoever's fists are harder is the boss. This was the law that Yi Qinghan believed in. You're really arrogant. You kill people like they're nothing. You're so domineering. You don't care about the heroes of the world. Do you really think the insane sect can't be defeated? At that moment, a poisonous heat aura enveloped the Southern Mountain Pass. Even the mansion masters were shocked. They all turned to look into the distance. A person in a black robe with a black veil over his head covered his entire body. They couldn't see his identity, but his aura alone made Grand Sovereign Shura frown. He's very strong. It'll take me a lot of time to kill him. Grand Sovereign Shura whispered. With someone like this holding him back, he couldn't guarantee the safety of Yi Qinghan and the others. Once a chaotic battle broke out, the insane sect might be destroyed. Yi Qinghan didn't know any experts from the Middle Realm. This person was so strong, but he was hiding his identity. His origin was definitely not ordinary. Who is this person? Can you guess, Mansion Master Mu? Yi Qinghan looked at Mansion Master Mu and asked in a low voice. Mansion Master Mu frowned as he looked at the newcomer. He had a bad premonition. With such powerful fire elemental fluctuations and hiding behind a veil, he was obviously afraid of being recognized. This person's identity was obvious. However, this person's veil was made of a special material. Divine sense couldn't pass through it, and his voice was changed. Without any evidence, Mansion Master Mu didn't dare to say anything. I can only guess. Without any evidence, you can't say anything. Mansion Master Mu reminded. All right. You just have to tell me which force he's from, Yi Qinghan said seriously. Mansion Master Mu took a deep breath and said, "Instructor from Tian-Ke Theological Academy." Han Yuan. Yi Qinghan nodded. What Mansion Master Mu said was the same as what he had guessed. All the people he had offended were here, except for Tian-Ke Theological Academy. This person was indeed Han Yuan. However, he couldn't come out personally. As an instructor, if he failed to deal with the crazed sect, it would be equivalent to dragging the school of theology into the war. The school of theology prided itself on being sacred and didn't participate in worldly wars. He was only a great instructor of a department. He didn't have the right to speak on behalf of the school of theology. Even if the school of theology wanted to speak, it would have to be done by the vice principal. Today is really interesting. So many people are here. The fellow Taoist who gave the crazed sect a chance of survival is here. Now, there's another guy who dares to speak without even showing his face. What a joke. Yi Qinghan gripped the 10 directions seal tightly and opened the veins in his body. He had just used so much power from the celestial source of chaos that his body couldn't take it. After resting for so long, he felt that he could use the 10 directions seal again. How dare you talk to this old man like that? Han Yuan's murderous intent condensed into a solid form and pressed down on Yi Qinghan with a terrifying will. Yi Qinghan felt as if his entire body was being pricked by needles. Han Yuan's strength had already surpassed the limits of an ordinary mansion master. He could even be compared to the great sovereign Shura who had crossed plains. Since the other party had already made his stance clear, showing weakness was akin to lowering his own morale. Yi Qinghan wouldn't do such a stupid thing. He used the 10 directions seal's aura to counterattack. The aura of a superior god exploded in the air, making the mansion master's hair stand on end. I only think of you as a dog who doesn't dare to show his face. Trying to pressure me with your aura. If you think you can control the situation and destroy the crazed sect, then just do it. Let's see if I can kill all of your so-called mansion masters when the crazed sect is destroyed. Yi Qinghan said coldly. Just as Yi Qinghan's aura was rising uncontrollably, and the incident in the southern mountain pass was about to escalate into a chaotic battle between the manor heads. Even the manor head was on tenterhooks. At that moment, Long Lan used the realm gate to rush to the southern mountain pass and sent a voice transmission to the manor head of Western Suppression Prefecture. The manor head of Western Suppression Prefecture instantly stood beside Yi Qinghan. The Western Garrison stance was equivalent to the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom stance. Taijan's expression turned ugly. The god of war manor and spirit god's manor lords frowned at the same time. The West Garrison manor's actions were akin to sending charcoal in the snow, and they were forcing Yi Qinghan to declare his stance. Yi Qinghan's attitude towards the three nations would change. Chapter 6:12. The Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom's Western Garrison's declaration made the already complicated situation even more dangerous. Even Han Mang, as a Divine College's great teacher, found it difficult to handle. Yi Qinghan was strong and refused to back down. The Iron Battle Mercenary Corps had suffered heavy losses and was destined to be unable to back down. Otherwise, the Iron Battle Mercenary Corps would collapse. At this moment, Yi Qinghan didn't want to fight. There were less than 3 months until Medusa completed her evolution. Then, the crazed manor would have another manor head. Emperor Yi would also enter the intermediate divine realm at any time. It was only a matter of time before the crazed manor became the #1 manor in the middle realm. Iron Battle, my crazed manor will not abandon anyone. Today, even an ordinary soldier will not be slaughtered by you, let alone a high-ranking superintendent like Roger. You want to fight to the death. I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Now, you only have one choice, and that is to retreat from the southern mountain pass. Yi Qinghan said coldly. Ha ha ha. Kid, you killed hundreds of thousands of my mercenaries and you want me to retreat with just one sentence? Is that even possible? Iron Battle was so angry that he laughed. He couldn't wait to rush up and kill Yi Qinghan. You deserve it. Your army is already at the gates. Do you want me to open the gates and let you trample on the crazed manor's territory? Yi Qinghan retorted disdainfully. Big brother, why are you talking nonsense with him? Let's just fight and kill the rest of the mercenaries. Di Longtian looked at Yi Qinghan. He really wanted to fight with this so-called manor head. More than 20 inner sect experts were no match for a single manor head. I agree with little Tian. Some people don't know their place until they are taught a lesson. They don't care about the world. Shi Gu said. The inner sect experts were all hawks. They wanted to fight, not retreat. A single king was not scary, but a group of kings was scary. No matter how strong a person was, they would have to think twice before attacking one person. If they were hit by one person, they would be dazed for a breath of time. A breath of time was enough for these 20 over people to attack hundreds of times. Even the manor head would lose a layer of skin. Just as the two sides were in a tit-for-tat confrontation, Yao Can led the little boy across the southern mountains pass. He looked at the many manor heads sternly, as if he was an adult scolding a child. He coldly said, "A bunch of old fogies. Do you have nothing better to do after eating? With so many prefecture lords gathered together, they really don't fear death." As a godly apothecary, Yao Can had saved countless lives. Among the 10 or so manor heads outside the southern mountain pass, at least 10 of them had received Yao Can's help. Once a manor head was severely injured, it was very difficult to heal. Aside from a godly apothecary, not many people could heal them. All the godly apothecaries in the middle realm were comparable to superior gods. Even manor heads had to treat them with respect. When Tai Zhan saw that Yao Can had stepped in, his face immediately turned ugly. After all, he had received Yao Can's kindness twice. Not to mention Yao Can reprimanding him, even if Yao Can slapped him twice, he wouldn't have anything to say. Old Yao, this kid is too much. Tai Zhan angrily glared at Yi Qinghan and complained helplessly. How is he being too much? You brought so many mercenaries to the southern mountains pass for no reason. Did you expect them to open the gate and surrender? Since it's clear that you want to start a war, you should be prepared to be wiped out. He has already broken the defense of your mercenaries. It should be easy for him to slaughter the remaining 100,000 strong fighters. But did he kill them all? Yao Can asked coldly. Tai Zhan was speechless. Yi Qinghan was indeed merciful. Otherwise, he could have led his army and annihilated the remaining mercenaries in a single attack. Sometimes, you have to give yourself face. If others give it to you and you don't want it, don't blame others for beating you up. Look at you bunch of manor heads. Are all the people in the arrogant sect older than you? You guys are really shameless, especially you. Are you representing the forces behind you? Or is this just your attitude alone? Yao Can stared at Han Mang and said coldly. No matter how strong Han Mang was, he couldn't be strong in front of Yao Can. This was because his relationship with Yao Can was no longer a simple one of kindness. Yao Can was his martial uncle. Martial uncle. Han Mang knew that he couldn't hide his identity from Yao Can. He could only bow. I have already entered the arrogant sect and become the honorable divine apothecary of the arrogant sect. You guys are forcing my hand. Yao Can's firm attitude made Tai Zhan, Han Mang, and the others feel helpless. If there's really a grudge that can't be resolved, then let's fight. This is the traditional way to resolve it. As long as you send the younger generation, I won't interfere no matter how many of the arrogant sect's fighters are killed. But if you bunch of manor heads dare to mess around, you will be my enemy. Now, discuss whether you want to fight or attack the southern mountains pass. Yao Can said firmly. The arrogant sect probably wouldn't be afraid of anyone in the same realm as them. Then let's fight. The location is at the southern mountains pass. The time is 1 month from now. Taizhan and Han Mang both wanted to fight. After all, with their connections, it was easy for them to find more than 10 chief disciples. Coupled with the 4th and 5th year students of the School of Divinity, they could probably exhaust the arrogant sect's inner sect. But Yi Qinghan can't use that divine artifact. Although I don't know what it is, it should be at least a mid-level great perfection divine artifact, right? How can the younger generation resist it? Han Mang had been paying attention to Yi Qinghan, especially the Shifang seal in his hand. The moment it exploded, it was so terrifying that even he felt a little strained. Sure. Yi Qinghan agreed without hesitation. But after thinking for a moment, he said, there are only 43 people in the inner sect. Including me, that's 44 people. So, we will only accept 44 challenges. If the number exceeds this number, we will not accept any challenge. Cut the crap. If you want to fight, then fight to the death. Kill to the last person. This is the rule. We will send out 100 people, so you must send out 100 people. Otherwise, don't blame us for taking turns. Han Mang said coldly. Yi Qinghan frowned. It would be easy for the other side to send out 100 people. With so many factions, it would be easy for any one of them to send out 100 people. But the arrogant sect was different. Even the outer sect couldn't send out 50 people, let alone 100 people. Even if they could gather 100 people, the remaining 50 people would die for nothing. If two factions fight, there will be 2 stages. The first stage will be a 100-person challenge. They might fight to the last 10 people, then join forces to fight until one side's younger generation is completely annihilated. Mu Mannerhead reminded in a low voice. They have the advantage in numbers, and they are all members of God's organization. If they don't, they will scatter. Taizhan and Han Mang will probably spend a lot to gather the chief disciples of the various factions. 100 people might be easy for them, but this is unfair to the arrogant sect. I don't recommend that you accept. Can I challenge them consecutively? Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. Yes, but don't underestimate the chief disciples of any faction. Although they are young, they are all mid-level almighty gods. You will be lucky if you can defeat one of them. It will be difficult for you to defeat 3 in a row, Mu Mannerhead said in a low voice. I accept on his behalf. 100 people it is, but I will set the time. It will be 6 months later, and the location will still be the Southern Mountain Pass. Yao Can suddenly agreed. Yi Qinghan then nodded and accepted the challenge. He was ready to use the arrogant sect's strength to fight against the 100 strongest members of God's organization's younger generation. Taizhan and the others left. In order to eliminate the arrogant sect, Han Mang and the others gathered in the alternate space again the next day. This time, there were more than 300 people. More than 300 manor heads gathered together. Even a god nation would have to be careful. Han Mang stared at the crowd and said in a low voice, I would like to invite your chief disciples to fight. The price is to enter Tian Ke Divine College to study secret techniques for 3 years. Of course, if they die in battle, I will not be responsible. As long as the contestants win and kill a member of the inner sect of the arrogant sect, the Iron Battle Mercenary Group will send a letter. In the future, I, Taizhan, will help you at least once. Taizhan hated the arrogant sect to the core. In order to eliminate the inner sect members, he would do anything. Is there a need to mobilize so many people for a small arrogant sect? Do you need the chief disciples of so many factions to fight? Could it be that the masters of the inner sect of the arrogant sect are strong enough to challenge all the young masters of God's organization? The Wild Sword Alliance's leader asked disdainfully. Of course not. I hope that the strongest of the younger generation of each faction will fight and kill all the masters of the inner sect of the arrogant sect. I want a 100% kill, not a serious injury. I want Yi Qinghan to regret this. I want him to die in remorse. Boom. Taijian punched deep into the alternate space. The alternate space trembled, showing how angry he was at the moment. More than 300 factions had sent out 100 chief disciples. Even if these people were not the strongest, they would certainly be geniuses specially selected to deal with the arrogant sect. The pressure on the arrogant sect was great. In the arrogant sect, Yi Qinghan lowered his head and pondered. There were only 44 masters in the arrogant sect. Including Lu Zhantian, there was a huge gap between 45 people. It was obviously impossible to find outside help from God's organization. It's not that easy to win. First, everyone in the inner sect will have to break through to the level of a medium god. Second, you will have to find more than 30 outside help. As for the remaining 20 or so, you can only use them as cannon fodder. Leave the matter of breaking through to me. The savings over the years should be enough for all of you to break through to the level of a middle-level god. As for external help, I can recommend a dozen to you. As for the rest, think of your own ways. Senior, with my son's talent, with your help, how long will it take for him to refine the godhood of Master Gongyang? Yi Qinghan suddenly remembered that the godhood of Master Gongyang had not been used yet. If Emperor Yi could refine this godhood, he would have the weakest combat power of a master. It would be relatively easy for him to kill 20 or 30 chief disciples. Coupled with his own celestial chaos source, he might not even need outside help. A master-level godhood is not that easy to refine. Even if Emperor Yi has the heavenly soul godhood and the unity of man and nature, it will take him at least a year. In addition, he has to cultivate a secret technique of the master level. It will take him another 2 or 3 years to learn it. It will be too late for him to refine it now, Alkan said without hesitation. Chapter 6:13. With the support of Yao Kan, the inner sect members poured large amounts of top-grade divine herbs into their bodies as if they were free. After that, the inner sect experts all went to every corner of the manor to absorb the power of faith. There were tens of billions of living beings in the manor, even more than the population of Owl War Planet. They all believed in the inner sect of the manor and were the masters of the manor. Yi Qinghan didn't hide his strength. He passed the great nirvana sword art to the sword experts of the inner sect. Xia Qiyue, Gu Qingyu, and the others all went into seclusion to fully comprehend the great nirvana sword art. According to Clan Master Mu's explanation, the younger generation referred to those who were less than 3,000 years old. No matter how high their cultivation base was, they were still the younger generation. However, those who could truly walk to the forefront of the younger generation mostly had the cultivation base of a middle-level god priest. Only a few of them had rushed to the middle-level great perfection realm. It wasn't easy to find someone younger than 3,000 years old. Even Tai Ching Xian couldn't be considered one. Even if he was a prince, he could only be considered mid-level. Wu Qingfeng was one, Dragon Nest was another. As for the others, Yi Qinghan didn't know them at all. Emperor Yi couldn't refine the manor head's godhood in half a year, so he couldn't join forces with him to defeat the 100 experts. He had to find external help. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. The quality of external help was too high. It had to be at least as strong as the inner sect. Moreover, it was very dangerous this time. He could die at any time. He couldn't get external help by relying on favors. If he died in battle, he couldn't explain it. He could only use treasures to exchange for help. Great Nirvana sword art. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He decided to cut off all means of retreat. Dragon Nest was currently at the Crazy Manor auction house. However, there were very few people at the auction today, so few that it was negligible. Crazy Manor was surrounded by people from God's organization. Only the West Garrison Manor could enter. But now, Crazy Manor was at the center of the storm. Who would dare to enter? Yi Qinghan went to the dragon's lair and explained his intentions. He hoped that the dragon's lair could recommend a true expert to help the Kuang Manor. I'm afraid it won't be that easy to find them. God's organization is an organization that transcends the rules. These people seem to come from various major forces and are a mixed bunch. They gather when they have something to gain, and disperse when they don't. However, once someone is suppressed by Scandinavia, they will swarm over and band together. Generally, no one is willing to offend them. Helping you with external aid is tantamount to fighting against God's organization, so. Yi Qinghan knew that Dragon's Nest was being polite. As long as one was not stupid and was not forced into a corner, no one would want to offend God's organization. Help me pass on a message. Tell them that I'm willing to use a mansion master-grade secret technique in exchange for a top-notch expert of the younger generation to help me. I don't believe that everyone in the world is afraid of God's organization. There will always be rogue cultivators who are willing to fight for the secret technique. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. A mansion master-grade secret technique? The dragon's lair was shocked. In the entire Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom, there were no more than 100 mansion master-grade secret techniques. They were very precious and priceless. It was very difficult for rogue cultivators to obtain such secret techniques. Using such a secret technique to attract the ultimate experts of the younger generation might really attract the few people from the mythological plane. Yi Qinghan nodded with certainty. The Great Nirvana swordsmanship was definitely a mansion master-grade secret technique, or even higher. In addition, Grand Monarch Shura was willing to provide a mansion master-grade secret technique. It should be enough to attract many experts. Let me introduce you to the top 20 experts of the younger generation of the Middle Plane. Dragon's Lair sat up straight. When it came to the top 20, even a powerful prince like him had to maintain a certain level of respect. These 20 people were the most promising to become a high-ranking god. Yi Qinghan sat down and looked at Dragon's Lair seriously. The number one expert of the mythological plane is surnamed Shao, and his name is Laughing at the Heavens. This person's origin is unknown and very strange. When he was very young, he was admitted to the Desolate God Academy, which is the most powerful academy in our country. He used 15 years to cultivate all the secret techniques in the academy and defeated the top experts of the 6th grade. He was ranked first on the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom's top ranking list. Even my big brother, the Dragon Crown Prince, was suppressed. Later, he changed his appearance and entered the Tian-Ke Divine Academy. In 10 years, he cultivated all the secret techniques in the Tian-Ke Divine Academy and became proficient in all kinds of law elements. He defeated the 5 experts of the Tian-Ke Divine Academy in one move and then disappeared. Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched. This kind of monster was too monstrous. Was he even human? Even the great Nirvana sword art might not be able to attract this kind of existence. Number 2, Pangu Heaven, 2,100 years old. He attacked 3 times and injured 3 lords. He is ranked second on the ranking list. I heard that he has the bloodline of the primordial divine lord. He is also in the planar battlefield now. It won't be easy to get him to fight. Yi Qinghan sucked in a breath of cold air. He was confident that he was the most terrifying existence of the younger generation. He was only 1,500 years old, and with the 10-direction seal and the primal chaos source, he wouldn't lose to the lords. However, Laughing at the Heavens and Pangu Heaven could injure the lords without any treasures. In terms of talent, they probably surpassed him. Speaking of the number 3, there is a popular saying among the upper echelons of the mythological plane. It's called the 3 heavens, who can defy gods. His name is Xian Yuantian. He has been in the planar battlefield since he was a child, fighting as a soldier. After 2,000 years, he fought his way up from a demigod priest to a lord prefect. He is an undying legend in the planar battlefield. Not even the top 2 lords of the planar battlefield are as famous as he is. Dragon Lair continued to talk about the top 10 of the mythological plane's ranking list. Yi Qinghan listened carefully. These people were definitely terrifying existences. If they fought, it was hard to say who would live and who would die. You have to be careful of the number 9 because he is the son of the Defiant God mercenary group's leader. He has the bloodline of the primordial divine lord. Although the bloodline is rare, it is not something that ordinary people can compare to. His name is Ni Guyan. 400 years ago, he was able to exchange 3,000 blows with a lord without losing. Whether he can defeat a lord now or not, only he knows. If you want the Defiant God mercenary group to win, you have to find someone in the top 10. Number 12, Mad God Sword King of the Mad Sword Alliance. When he was a great emperor, he was conferred the title of War Emperor by the Great Elder of God's organization. He is also a member of God's organization. To deal with him, you still have to find someone in the top 10. Dragon Lair spoke for an hour, listing the names of the top 20 people on the Wind Cloud list, their combat power, and their battle achievements over the years. There were 6 people from God's organization, and the Crown Prince of the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom was only ranked 10th. It was clear how powerful the elites of the mythological plane were. With your combat power that destroyed a mercenary group of 1,000,000, you should be able to squeeze into the top 20. But you have to know that the ranking of combat power is from 200 years ago. So, whether you can enter the top 20 is still to be considered, Dragon Lair said in a serious tone. Yi Qinghan nodded. Being able to enter the top 20 was the lifelong dream of many people. Dragon Lair definitely didn't dare to think about it. Even Wu Qingfeng didn't have a chance. It's probably impossible to invite the top 3 people on the ranking, but it's possible to invite Yang Ru, the 5th-ranked chief disciple of the Wilderness God Academy. In addition to my brother, you still need to find 4 people in the top 20 to fight against the top 10 of God's organization. Even if you can handle 1, you still need to find 3 more. Dragon Lair explained. My son is 1. Yi Qinghan believed that with Emperor Ye's strength, he still had a chance to defeat the 19th-ranked princess of the Snow Clan. You're really willing to let her charge into battle. You have to know that she can die if she's not careful. This kind of battle is even more dangerous than a battle between lords. Dragon Lair frowned. Yi Qinghan fell silent. Emperor Yi had experienced more than 1 or 2 battles. She was destined to reach the peak. Protecting her would only harm her. Let me give you another reminder. Berserk God Saber King and Ni Guyan are still in the top 12. They have a wide network of friends. They might be able to pull in 2 powerhouses to participate in the arena battle. At that time, Quan Fu will have a harder time, Shroud said. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. If he wanted to win this arena battle, he would have to pull in the 7th and top 20 people on the ranking. Are there any rogue cultivators in the top 20 who need a secret technique on the level of a lord? Yi Qinghan asked. There are 2. The 13th-ranked Qin Lang and the 17th-ranked Lin Yi. Both of them are sword experts. Their personalities are strange to the point that they don't have any friends. I can provide you with their addresses and contact information. You'll have to talk to them in person. Dragon Lair then wrote down the address and contact information on a talisman and handed it to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan opened it and took a look. Qin Lang, a loose cultivator, cultivated the ancient broken sword style. He was a mid-level extreme Dao Almighty. He had been traveling in the northwest of the southern mountain pass and had a fixed residence, which was located in the western mountain prefecture. Lin Yi had an ancient bloodline. The Lin clan was also a large clan in ancient times. In the end, the clan declined and became a rogue cultivator. His secret technique was the Lin clan's 9 forms of the godly sword. He was an assassin, and it was said that as long as one could pay the price, they would accept any mission to kill a lord. This person was training in the southern wasteland of the 3 clear divine kingdom, searching for the peak of the 9 forms of the godly sword. Yi Qinghan slowly got up and left the auction house. He found Emperor Yi and told him his plan. My son, the crazed manor cannot do without someone who can control the entire situation. Therefore, you must stay here. This time, I will go to the Western Mountain Prefecture in the southern wasteland alone. I will definitely be back within half a year. Remember, do not leave the crazed manor's territory. Do you understand? Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Then isn't it too dangerous for you to go out alone? Emperor Yi said awkwardly. Yi Qinghan waved the saber in his hand and said proudly, don't worry. With the 10 directions seal and the primal chaos mana, as long as I am not surrounded by a few lords, I will definitely be able to escape. Chapter 6:14. In the southern mountain pass, Yi Qinghan rushed out alone, heading straight for the western mountain pass. The western mountain pass was northeast of the southern mountain pass, separated by a lawless area where bandits and mercenaries ran amok. Adventurers were everywhere. Yi Qinghan restrained his aura and walked through the forest like an ordinary adventurer. He held the dark sky sword in his hand. With the great Nirvana sword as his foundation, controlling the dark sky sword was easy. Yi Qinghan also took the god-slaying whip in Medusa's hand for self-defense. He was alone outside, and the enemy was the unpredictable gods organization. It was always good to have extra precautions. At this moment, no one knew that the man in front of them was Yi Qinghan, who had appeared out of nowhere. A man holding a 7-foot heavy sword didn't seem out of place at all. When he passed by many adventurer groups, whenever Yi Qinghan approached, they would vigilantly take out their weapons and coldly stare at Yi Qinghan. Their mentality was very strong. In the mythological plane, everyone was indifferent to each other, let alone trust. Who knew how many years it would take to establish a group of adventurers? To reach the Western Mountain Pass, one had to pass through this lawless mountain range. The space-time turbulence in the sky was enough to kill an intermediate god, so one couldn't fly randomly. Flying dozens of meters in the air was even more so. Flying beasts ran amok, so flying practitioners could easily be attacked. Everyone was walking on foot, and Yi Qinghan was the same. However, his speed was very fast, as if he was running madly. The sharp sword in his hand could casually kill a ferocious beast. After killing the beast, he didn't take its divinity, fur, or flesh, which attracted some people's attention. Some people chose to follow Yi Qinghan and collect the prey that Yi Qinghan killed. They were happy to be at ease. Yi Qinghan only wanted to reach the western garrison as soon as possible. He didn't want to waste any time on the road. The stars had changed, and he traveled during the day and at night. He only stopped to rest when he was tired. He didn't care about these prey at all. As long as the beasts didn't attack him, he wouldn't attack either. On the third night, Yi Qinghan had already entered the depths of the mountain range. As long as he crossed this mountain range, he would be in a populated area. As a precaution, Yi Qinghan started to rest in the afternoon. He slept until late at night, when he had recovered most of his strength. Just as he was about to get up and continue his journey, he suddenly heard a commotion and exclamation ahead of him. "Hurry up and leave. Hurry up and leave, I'll help you delay." Ah, roar. Whoosh, an unknown ferocious beast's roar shook the mountains and rivers, awakening the silence within a radius of hundreds of miles. Then, the world fell into a deathly silence, and even the sound of breathing could be heard. Swish. 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 More than 10 figures rushed out from the front. They were all in a sorry state. There were both men and women, and they were all dressed in the same uniform. They were either from the same family or the same sect. A giant beast rushed out from the depths of the mountain range at the front. It looked like a tiger but had a pair of wings. Its body was as big as a small mountain, and it was rampaging. Rocks and trees were all broken and collapsed. Under the moonlight, its mouth was full of fangs, emitting a cold and blood-red glow. Its green eyes were terrifying, and it looked like a creature that had crawled out from the depths of hell. Roar! Its huge wings crushed a huge tree, and its front legs crushed rocks. It swooped down and killed a low-level god priest, swallowing even his godhead. Ah, 14th brother! Brother, more than 10 people were in ragged clothes, and some of them were so scared that their legs had turned to jelly. They collapsed 20 meters in front of Yi Qinghan, looking at the giant beast in despair. They didn't know what to do. Yi Qinghan frowned as he looked at the giant beast. It was extremely ugly, and its body was uneven. It was shaped like a lonely mountain, and its skin was harder than steel. Ordinary crossbow bolts couldn't even penetrate its defense. There were a few crossbow bolts on its body, but it didn't even bleed. Roar! The giant beast pounced on the people, opening its bloody mouth, wanting to swallow all of them at once. Seeing the despair in the eyes of the group of young children and elders, Yi Qinghan sighed softly. He suddenly drew his sword, and the sword light tore through the darkness, directly slashing at the giant beast's teeth. Boom! Whoosh! The giant beast's hard teeth were directly cut off. Then, the sword light tore the giant beast's body from its mouth, splitting it in two. The huge corpse rolled, crashing into more than 10 ancient trees. The group of people in front of him turned around in horror, looking at Yi Qinghan's handsome face. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. The clan leader had been killed by the giant beast, but this giant beast couldn't even withstand a single blow in the hands of this young man in front of them. Why did you bring your family to the mountains in the middle of the night? Yi Qinghan frowned. He couldn't help but ask when he saw a young woman with a baby in swaddling clothes in her arms. Senior, thank you for saving us. We were also forced to escape from the Iron Battle Mercenary Group's territory in the middle of the night. Otherwise, why would we bring our child into such a dangerous place in the middle of the night? An elder cried bitterly. Along the way, the elites of the clan had all been killed by the giant beast. Now, only the old and weak were left. It was very despairing. The Iron Battle Mercenary Group again. Yi Qinghan's eyes were cold. This kind of thing was very common. Those with money and power were the bosses. Ordinary small clans wouldn't dare to do anything if they were bullied. Since these people ran out in the middle of the night, it was likely that someone in the clan couldn't hold back and killed the mercenary group. These people obviously weren't spies in disguise. They also didn't know that they would bump into Yi Qinghan here. They were probably really forced to do this. Do you have anywhere to go? Yi Qinghan asked in a low voice. We're preparing to go to the Western Garrison or the Crazy Manor's territory. I heard that the Crazy Manor treats ordinary clans well. The sects that go there will be given a mountain as their territory. We want to try our luck. Big brother, we'll pay. Can you escort us there? A young girl who looked to be only 15 or 16 years old was dressed in rags. Her forehead was broken, and she held a mid-grade spirit crystal in her hand. Under the light of the fire, she looked very pitiful. At this moment, the group of old, weak, sick, and disabled people all looked at Yi Qinghan. Even if Yi Qinghan was willing to send them out of the mountain range, with their strength, they had no chance of leaving the mountain range alive. I beg of you. Sir, the hope of our clan is here. This old man doesn't want to break the legacy of the witch tribe. An old man kept kowtowing, begging Yi Qinghan to help. Yi Qinghan was surprised. The people in front of him were actually from the witch tribe, but from their clothes, they didn't look like it. You are from the witch tribe. Which ancestor's successor are you? Why are you dressed like this? Yi Qinghan asked in surprise. After the 5th generation of the witch god, there were no more witch gods. There were only 12 witch ancestors. Every tribe had their own legacy, but the witch ancestor or witch god was the same. We believe in the water witch ancestor. Because of the decline of the witch tribe, the witch tribe members who have been hiding in various places have changed their names, not daring to reveal their identities. If you weren't our savior, we wouldn't have dared to tell you our identities. The few old men said helplessly. Since they were descendants of the witch tribe, Yi Qinghan couldn't just sit by and do nothing. After thinking for a while, he summoned the god-slaying eagle and said, "Escort them to the southern garrison. Ask Roger to arrange a territory for them and provide them with some basic necessities. Then you can return to the crazy manor directly." "Yes, master." The god-slaying eagle transformed into a muscular man. He looked at the group of weak people in front of him and didn't look down on them. After all, he had once protected Ming Ke. Unfortunately, he didn't complete the task. This time, he didn't want to disappoint Yi Qinghan again. Chapter 6:15. Yi Qinghan was busy going to the West Garrison and did not pay attention to this group of people. He did not know that they were the ones with the purest bloodline among the witches. He left the mountain overnight and entered the territory of the West Garrison early the next morning. This place was even more prosperous than the insane sect. It was filled with people and was in a much better location than the insane sect. The West Garrison was in the westernmost part of the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom. It was not in a good location, but the spirit herbs that could be seen everywhere were enough to make the Holy Kingdom of Martial Arts jealous. Yi Qinghan held his sword and moved quickly. He passed through several checkpoints and arrived at the main city. He did not alert the chief of the West Garrison and went straight to Qin Lang's mansion. Qin Lang lived alone in the southwest part of the main city. The scenery here was beautiful and it was at the foot of the mountain. It was very suitable for him to practice swordsmanship. Because of Qin Lang, there was no one around for dozens of miles. Yi Qinghan arrived at the foot of the mountain. A side courtyard stood on the water and a wooden bridge extended into the depths. The surrounding lotus leaves were in full bloom and the spirit qi was so strong that it had turned into liquid. It was refreshing. Yi Qinghan put away the dark sky sword and stepped into the side courtyard. Qin Manor was on the left. The Qin Manor was tall and majestic, but there was not even a guard at the entrance. There were only a few maids taking care of the courtyard. The courtyard was filled with red flowers and green willows. The divine herbs were almost transforming. Two young girls watched Yi Qinghan step into the manor. They stared and said, "Who are you? Tell us your name." "Yi Qinghan of the insane sect is here to visit Taoist Qin Lang." "Is he home?" Yi Qinghan said lightly. The two girls stayed in the manor all year round and did not interact with outsiders. They had never heard of Yi Qinghan's name, but it did not stop them from having a good attitude. After all, Yi Qinghan relied on his face to make a living. He could also hook up with a group of beautiful girls. His gentleness made the girls' eyes shine. Master is entertaining guests. Why are there so many people looking for Master these days? The little girl pursed her lips and smiled. She kindly led Yi Qinghan into the manor and whispered, "Wait a moment. Once Master sends that person away, I'll help you report it." Yi Qinghan released his consciousness and flew towards the main hall in the backyard. He discovered that there were two people sitting in the main hall, one was cold and indifferent, his entire body was emitting an incomplete sword Dao Qi, he was extremely reclusive, he should be Qin Lang, and the other person was actually someone from the Wild Blade Alliance, Wild God Blade King. Berserk God Blade King's identity was very easy to recognize. He was wearing the Berserk Blade Union's uniform, with the golden word Berserk embroidered on his left shoulder and a golden short blade embroidered on his right shoulder. Other than the Berserk Blade Union's Union Master, only Berserk Blade God King had the qualifications to embroider the golden word and blade. Frenzied Blade God King's purpose in visiting Qin Lang was very simple. It was the same as Yi Qinghan's. How could Yi Qinghan let them complete their business deal first? His figure flashed and appeared outside the main hall in the backyard. The main door was not closed. When Qin Lang saw that it was a stranger, he immediately frowned and said coldly, "Aren't you too arrogant to enter my Qin manor as you please? What do you think my home is?" Berserk God Blade King looked at Yi Qing Han and could not help but laugh disdainfully. He said indifferently, "Brother Qin, you might not know him. He is Yi Qing Han, the leader of the crazy sect, whose name has recently become famous in the nearby large manors. Yi Qing Han greets the two of you. I have no choice but to take the liberty to disturb you. I hope Brother Qin won't be angry." Yi Qing Han bowed slightly, giving the two of them enough face. Qin Lang's expression became slightly better. He said in a muffled voice, "So it's Brother Yi. You are indeed the manor lord of the crazy sect." Yi Qing Han smiled and shook his head. He said, "Brother Qin, you should know that I traveled thousands of miles to find you. Naturally, I want to ask for your help. If the Frenzied Blade Union gets here first, my crazy sect will definitely go against you. However, I really don't want to be your enemy. I can only force my way into your manor. If Brother Qin is still not happy, you can punish me as you wish whether the deal is settled or not." The three auras in the backyard intertwined and surged into the sky. The Sword Dao was cruel and ruthless, while the Frenzied Blade Union was ruthless and tyrannical. Only Yi Qing Han's body exuded a faintly discernible aura of the five elements. Although he seemed gentle, his battle intent had already soared into the sky. "Yi Qing Han, going against God's organization is not a good thing. Seeing that you have some ability, I advise you to take a step back. Hand over Roger and personally go to the Iron Battle Mercenary Group to ask for punishment. Also, hand over the crazy sect to me. I guarantee that you will still have a foothold in the mythological plane. If you don't listen to me, the crazy sect will be destroyed in half a year." Yi Qing Han snorted and said disdainfully, "Brother Qin, you are a top figure of the Frenzied Blade Union. Don't you know what the bottom line of my crazy sect is? It's not my style to be bullied by others. I have no enmity with God's organization. Since you forced my hand, don't blame me for being merciless when the time comes. Being arrogant is a good thing. You can only be arrogant if you have the ability. Take my Frenzied Blade Union for example. But you are just a brat who has just entered the middle plane. Without any foundation, how dare you be arrogant? You are just seeking your own death." Frenzied Blade Monarch looked straight at Yi Qing Han. His arrogant aura surged as he tried to suppress Yi Qing Han. "You too, this is my residence. You can talk business, but don't act recklessly," Qin Lang warned calmly. Frenzied Blade Monarch's aura dissipated. Like a close friend who had not seen each other for many years, he extended his hand and gestured for Yi Qing Han to enter the main hall. "If you want me to fight, you need to bring out some precious treasures or secret techniques. Anything else is just empty talk. Tell me your sincerity, and I will fight on behalf of whichever side is willing to pay the price. However, I will not take sides. I will only fight one battle, and I will fight 3 battles. Either I die in battle, or I leave after accomplishing my mission." Qin Lang made his stance clear. He did not want to be an enemy of any side, and was very frank about it. Frenzied Blade Monarch was proud. How much foundation did the crazy sect have? How could they compete with the powerful God organization? Qin Lang and Lin Yi were 2 rogue cultivators. God organization was determined to get them. Their goal was simple. They wanted to forcefully overthrow the crazy sect and occupy the crazy sect. They wanted to develop this place into God organization's territory and take over the crazy sect's Dao fruit and fortune. Daoist Yi, you can speak first. Otherwise, you won't have a chance if I speak first. Frenzied Blade Monarch said calmly. Yi Qing Han would not be polite. Who knew what would happen if he acted politely at this time? Daoist Qin, I know that you cultivate the ancient broken sword style. I have a set of sword techniques with only 3 styles combined. It is called the Great Nirvana Sword Technique. It is a top-secret technique of the Mansion Master level. I wonder if you are interested. Yi Qinghan said calmly. The Great Nirvana Sword Technique had been lost for a long time. Even Qin Lang and Frenzied Blade Monarch had not heard of this name. However, if it was a top-secret technique of the Mansion Master level, its value would be astronomical. Perhaps even a large mansion would not be able to afford such a price, let alone someone like Yi Qinghan who had just entered the middle realm. Qin Lang's pupils shrank. For someone who was obsessed with the Tao of the sword, there was nothing more attractive to him than sword techniques. He was a rogue cultivator and did not want to submit to anyone. It was impossible for him to obtain more top-secret techniques. The Mansion Master level secret techniques were already his limit. Chapter 6:16. Great Nirvana Sword Art. Qin Lang was not the only one who was shocked. Even the Berserk God Blade Monarch was shocked. He did not believe that Yi Qinghan would take out such a good secret technique for this battle. In fact, Yi Qinghan did not even have such a secret technique. How many of the prefecture lords in the world possessed a top-notch secret technique of the prefecture lord level? How can you prove that it's a top-level secret technique? Qin Lang calmed himself down and did not show any signs of exaggeration. One sword is enough. Yi Qinghan said calmly. Brother Yi, please use your sword. Qin Lang stood up and stared at Yi Qinghan. The Berserk God Blade Monarch did not say anything. If Yi Qinghan could really take out a top-level secret technique, his mission would have failed. God's organization would not take out such a secret technique for a single person to fight in the arena. God's organization did not need Qin Lang either. They just did not want Qin Lang to be invited by Quang Mansion. It's too powerful. I'm afraid it will destroy your mansion. Let's go outside the city. How about it? Yi Qinghan stood up and said calmly. Qin Lang nodded and took the lead to walk out. The Berserk God Blade Monarch looked at Yi Qinghan calmly. The arrogance in his eyes could not be hidden. His body was like a blade, sharp and domineering. His blade intent was not any weaker than Yi Qinghan's. In fact, it was even stronger. Can I have a look as well? Brother, please. Yi Qinghan looked at the Berserk God Blade Monarch. He had some thoughts in his mind, but he did not say it out loud. The three of them moved quickly and appeared outside the city. Qin Lang's name was well known in the mythological realm. Who did not know him? Moreover, this was where he lived. Look, isn't that Lord Qin Lang? Who is that beside him? He looks very familiar. Idiot, didn't you see his clothes? Who else can it be other than Lord Berserk God Blade Monarch? Wow! Both of them are in the top 20 of the Wind Cloud list. Who is that person with the sword? To be able to walk together with the two lords, he must not be simple. Idiot, that person is the one who has been stirring up a storm recently, Yi Qinghan of Quang Mansion. You're the idiot. Even I know Yi Qinghan uses a saber. He wields the 7 feet of madness. This person uses a sword. Do you think I'm stupid? Motherfucker, you're really stupid. I've seen him in the Southern Mountains Pass. If I say he is, then he is. Bang! Outside the city, a group of people were discussing Yi Qinghan and the others. In the end, a fight broke out. Immediately, smoke and dust rose everywhere and miserable screams filled the air. The three of them shook their heads and sped up, leaving the city gate in a flash. The West Garrison Gobi was located at the Western Desert, 3,000 miles away from the West Garrison Prefecture. There was no sign of life in this place, and it was hot all year round. The heat could even kill a lower-level deity priest, so few people came here. The desert rolled over and over, as if it could swallow an expert into the ground at any time. It was like the waves of the sea, hair-raising. Yi Qinghan and the other two stood on the cloud with their swords in their arms. Make your move. If it's really a manor head level secret technique, I can help you fight 5 matches. I'll definitely win 5 matches. Qin Lang said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan unsheathed his sword. It was as fast as lightning, shattering the void. There was no turning back. A ray of sword light pierced through the clouds and appeared in front of Qin Lang. It suddenly turned into 3 rays of sword light, capable of tearing apart shackles and destroying time and space. The aura of destruction spread hundreds of miles away. Qin Lang was shocked. He actually managed to block 2 of the swords in the blink of an eye. He then somersaulted and flew backwards, evading the last sword. However, he couldn't block the incoming sword Qi. Swoosh! The sword light streaked across Qin Lang's waist, cutting through his defensive divine robes and blasting into the sea of sand. Boom! The sword Qi raised a 100-meter-long sand wave with a terrifying momentum that surged towards the depths. At this moment, Qin Lang's eyes flickered with radiance. He didn't even see how Yi Qinghan made his move. The sword had already attacked, turning into 3 rays of sword light in an instant. All of them had terrifying destructive power. There was no way to evade any of them. The sword Qi would tear apart the divine body irreparably. The frenzied god saber monarch involuntarily summoned an ink-black divine saber. He looked at Yi Qinghan with vigilance. The previous sword had already made him feel danger. Yi Qinghan was qualified to injure him. He was also qualified to draw his saber. Good sword technique. Reversing time and space, yin and yang. It's irreparable. 1 sword turning into 3 and it's impossible to defend. It's definitely a manor head level secret technique. As for whether it's a top level secret technique, I can't tell. The frenzied god saber monarch said in a deep voice. This is the great nirvana sword technique. Only 1 sword? Qin Lang asked in shock. There are 3 swords. I only comprehended 1 sword. Yi Qinghan said truthfully. If he had comprehended all 3 swords, he would have had a chance to kill Qin Lang. All right. I agree. Qin Lang did not hesitate to agree to Yi Qinghan's invitation. He did not even listen to the price that the frenzied god saber monarch offered. Then, he said to the frenzied god saber monarch, "Thou frenzied god, I'm sorry. I have no interest in becoming enemies with God's organization. This battle is only a single elimination tournament. If we meet in the future, I won't show any mercy. I hope you understand." The frenzied god saber monarch and Qin Lang had some friendship. Otherwise, Qin Lang would not have bothered to say such words to him. The frenzied god saber monarch nodded. Without God's organization, he would participate in a single elimination tournament and obtain a manor head level sword technique. Not to mention Qin Lang, even if it was himself, if Yi Qinghan used such a saber technique, he would not hesitate to fight for crazed manor. Gather if there were benefits. Disperse if there were no benefits. This was God's organization. Yi Qinghan casually threw out a talisman and said indifferently, "This is the first move. After 5 rounds, I'll give you the other 2 moves." Qin Lang took the talisman and directly absorbed the first move of the great nirvana sword technique into his mind. Just as he felt the sword Qi, he was attracted to it. He did not even look at Yi Qinghan and the frenzied god saber monarch. He was like this. He was obsessed with the sword Tao and never cared about the feelings of others. Tao frenzied god, you and I both cultivate the crazy Tao. I really don't want to have any enmity with your union. Moreover, we have no enmity with each other. Once this single elimination tournament starts, with your strength enough to kill my inner sect members, there will be enmity between your union and me. I believe that this is not what you want. If possible, let's talk about a deal. Yi Qinghan stared at the frenzied god saber monarch. If he could pull this person into Crazed Manor's battle, Crazed Manor would save a lot of effort. If there are benefits, we will gather. If there are no benefits, we will disperse. As long as your conditions can move me and you don't betray the Frenzied Saber Union, there is no harm in helping you. The Frenzied God Saber Monarch said straightforwardly, if you are sincere enough, I can even tell you a secret that will decide your life and death. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. The Frenzied God Saber Monarch definitely knew a lot about God's organization's decision. This was something that he could not find out. Therefore, in order to take down the Frenzied God Saber Monarch, he hardened his heart and said, I don't have a Mansion Master level saber technique, but I do have a Mansion Master level Godhead. I don't care about this Godhead. As long as Dao Friend is willing to help, this Godhead will be yours. There were not many Mansion Master level Godheads. There were only a few people in the entire plane. It was impossible to fight on a daily basis. If one wanted to obtain a Mansion Master level Godhead, they would have to go to the planar battlefield. Mansion Masters could die there at any time. Even existences like the Frenzied God Saber Monarch did not have the qualifications to enter. Chapter 6:17. A Prefecture Lord Godhead, even if it was the weakest Godhead, in the hands of the Saber King, it could display terrifying power. It had battle intent and bloodthirst, comparable to a mid-level Prefecture Lord. The Berserk God Saber King was tempted. How could he not be tempted? Good. I won't let this Prefecture Lord Godhead be unworthy, I agree. I won't accept the mission from God's organization, I'll accept the mission from you. The Berserk God Saber King said firmly, I'll tell you something, you'll definitely feel that this Prefecture Lord Godhead is worth the price. Yi Qinghan was curious, what kind of secret would be worth a Prefecture Lord Godhead? Qin Lang was also attracted by the Berserk God Saber King's mysteriousness. He temporarily gave up on comprehending the great Nirvana sword art and raised his head to look at the Berserk God Saber King. The Berserk God Saber King smiled faintly and said, You should be glad that you took out the Prefecture Lord Godhead to tempt me, you should be glad that you came to West Suppression Prefecture first and not the Southern Wasteland. Lin Yi is a member of God's organization. He is cooperating with 2 Prefecture Lords to wait for you in the Southern Wasteland. If you go, you won't have a chance to come back alive. Yi Qinghan and Qin Lang trembled. God's organization was indeed frightening, killing people without leaving a trace. Even my father doesn't know that Lin Yi is a member of God's organization, I only found out by chance. When I arrived, I saw Tai Zhan and Xue Qinggu working together to head to the Southern Wasteland. With their speed, they should have reached the Southern Wasteland by now. If you go, aren't you just walking into a trap? The Berserk God Saber King looked at Yi Qinghan with a strange smile. Yi Qinghan's face was ashen. He didn't expect God's organization to go to such lengths to kill him. If he had gone to invite Lin Yi without any preparation, he would have been surrounded by the 3 great experts. There was no way he would have returned alive. Even the 3 Mansion Masters had succeeded in killing Grand Monarch Shura, let alone him. Many thanks for the reminder, Brother Berserk God, I owe you my life, I'll definitely give you the Prefecture Lord Godhead before the battle, I believe you won't go back on your words. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. At their level of cultivation, people with cold and arrogant personalities would definitely have their own bottom line and principles in their hearts. Their words and actions would follow the law, and they would definitely not cheat others of their money. If word got out that they had cheated others of their money, they would have no face to continue living. There's no need for that. Just pretend that you don't know about the Prefecture Lord's godhood points. Although I won't accept any missions from God's organization, it doesn't mean that I want to fall out with them, Mad God Blade Monarch said calmly. However, if you want to win this arena competition, just the few of us are far from enough. Half of your inner sect members will just be sending themselves to their deaths if they go up on stage. If you want to win, you'll have to rope in those on the Wind Cloud leaderboard to help you. Berserk God Blade King said bluntly. From the Saber Sovereign's point of view, Emperor Yi, Gu Qingyu, Di Longtian, Xia Qiue, Xia Ziluo, Monkey King Qitian, Nia Tian, and Stan Huangtian were all allowed to fight. However, no one else was allowed to fight. Yi Qinghan frowned. There were many experts and elites in the inner sect, but it was indeed a little difficult to fight against the entire God's organization. I've investigated your inner sect. Those who can catch my eye, in addition to Yao Lao's nurturing, do not exceed 20 people. Including the three of us, and at most the first prince of the sacred dragon divine kingdom, we only have 24 people. It's far from enough. The Berserk God Blade King reminded. I've already asked someone to persuade Yang Ru. Yi Qinghan had exposed Yang Ru. Now, he had to give Berserk God Blade Monarch and Qin Lang confidence. With these two people, the rest would be much easier. Yang Ru is ranked 5th on the Wind Cloud leaderboard. The top 3 are all on the plain battlefield. With him alone, he can fight against 10 experts. Qin Lang nodded. Those who could be ranked in the top 5 were all terrifying existences. He had to admit that. I can deal with 5. Berserk God Blade Monarch said calmly. I can also deal with 5, Qin Lang said confidently. Yang Ru was equivalent to 10. Berserk God Blade Monarch and Qin Lang were 10. The eccentric sect had 20 people. The Crown Prince of the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom should have no problem dealing with 5. This was equivalent to 45 people. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and pondered. Then, he raised his head and said, as long as we don't meet the top 10 on the Wind Cloud leaderboard, I can kill 10. At least, we have 55 experts on our side. Our chances of winning are more than half. If we find 1 or 2 more experts on the Wind Cloud leaderboard, we can definitely beat them. Qin Lang and Berserk God Blade Monarch's eyes narrowed. They looked at Yi Qinghan's resolute and cold gaze. If he dared to say such words, it was not empty talk. He had absolute confidence. It seems that I've underestimated you. You still have some tricks up your sleeve. Berserk God Blade Monarch looked at Yi Qinghan with some surprise. Although he was arrogant, he did not dare to say that he could kill 10 people below the top 10 on the Wind Cloud leaderboard. Without some tricks up my sleeve, would I dare to fight against God's organization? Yi Qinghan smiled calmly. What about the group battle at the back? Qin Lang reminded. The group battle at the end was the decisive one. In the group battle, it was 10 against 10. In the end, not a single person would be left alive. It was impossible for external help to participate. People would die, and those who died would be the true elites of the Wind Cloud leaderboard. If the two of you are willing to lend me a hand, I can guarantee that you will not die. I am confident that I can kill all of them. Yi Qinghan said confidently. Emperor Ye Zither Dao could suppress their vitality. There was not much difference between her facing an army of 100,000 and facing one person. In the group battle, the Berserk God Blade Monarch had the advantage. Berserk God Blade Monarch thought for a moment and chose to help Yi Qinghan again. Perhaps it was because of the arrogance in his heart. I can help you invite another person on the Wind Cloud leaderboard, but you have to give him a promise. If he asks for your help in the future, you have to promise not to refuse. As long as it doesn't cross my bottom line, I will definitely help. Yi Qinghan replied firmly. Qin Lang looked at Berserk God Blade Monarch curiously and asked, are you talking about the 8th-ranked Silo? That's him. I once saved his life. If I ask him to help, he will definitely help. However, you will have to repay this favor yourself. Berserk God Blade Monarch looked at Yi Qinghan and said. I heard that this person has a grudge with God's organization. His sect was destroyed by God's organization. Silo has always been on the run. God's organization has been chasing after him all these years. I didn't expect that you would save him. Yi Qinghan had heard of Silo's background. The dragon's nest had already told him that Silo was ranked 8th. He was extremely powerful and had a grudge with God's organization. However, he had disappeared for a long time. Yi Qinghan did not expect to hear news of him now. Tell him that he can join my Berserk God Blade Monarch. Since I have already offended God's organization, I am not afraid of bearing another grudge. Yi Qinghan was excited. If he could rope in Silo, the price of the Godhead would be worth it. Berserk God Blade Monarch nodded and agreed to Yi Qinghan's request. Only the 3 of us know about today's matter. I don't want a 4th person to know about our agreement. Berserk God Blade Monarch warned. Chapter 6:18. After the 3 of them agreed, the frenzied God Saber King left alone. Yi Qinghan and Qin Lang returned to the Western Garrison Prefecture and were surrounded by hundreds of youths at the city gates. Sirs, can you give us some guidance? The group of young men and women were all talking at once. It seemed that they were all quite talented. At this moment, they were looking at Qin Lang and Yi Qinghan with anticipation. It seemed that they had already determined Yi Qinghan's identity. Qin Lang was cold and reclusive as he looked at the crowd coldly. The group of youths were so frightened that they didn't dare to raise their heads and hurriedly made way for him. Yi Qinghan was still fine. He nodded to the many youths and calmly said, "Experiences gained through life and death struggles. You wouldn't understand even if I explained it to you. Disperse. I still have some matters to discuss with fellow Daoist Qin." The crowd was helpless and could only slowly disperse. Yi Qinghan and Qin Lang were preparing to enter the Western Garrison Prefecture city when 7 or 8 youths walked out of the city gates. Their auras were extraordinary and were definitely comparable to inner sect experts. "You are Yi Qinghan. You're only a so-so. Chao Kuan and the rest are such losers that they have completely disgraced the Divine College." The youth in the lead was wearing a green battle robe. Behind him were 3 men and 4 women, with him as the center. They pressed down on Yi Qinghan. Tian K Divine College's 4th-year top student, Sir Hao Yun. Wow! As expected of Tian K Divine College's students. Any one of them could easily sweep through a prefecture. This 4th-year student is even more impressive. He's definitely an existence that will spread throughout the Sanqing divine nation. The crowd discussed excitedly. Hao Yun and the rest looked at the crowd's admiring gazes and instantly raised their heads. They couldn't wait to beat Yi Qinghan down and teach him a lesson. They wanted to step on Yi Qinghan's head and walk to the peak. One of the top-notch women was wearing revealing clothes and had a hot body. She rubbed against Hao Yun's arm and said coquettishly, "Brother Yun, why are you being so calculative with people like him? If you offend the Iron Battle Mercenary Group, you won't even know how you died. You're here to challenge Qin Lang, so don't let that trash dirty your eyes." "That's right, big brother Yun. You are the pride of our Tian K Divine College, the valedictorian of the 4th year. Bickering with him is really shameful." The few people behind Hao Yun said flatteringly. Hao Yun smirked and glanced at Yi Qinghan with disdain. She then turned her gaze to Qin Lang and said, "Qin Lang, I've challenged you 3 times and you've rejected me each time. Are you scared or are you afraid that I'll steal your position on the billboard? Because you are not worthy. Scram. The sword in my hand has never killed trash," Qin Lang said coldly. Yi Qinghan shrugged. Only now did he understand the origin of Qin Lang's reputation as a loner. However, judging from Hao Yun's aura, he was indeed no match for Qin Lang. He was even less interested in bickering with him. Hao Yun's expression was ugly. She was, after all, in the top 30 of the billboard and was the 6th expert in Tian K Divine College. Even some of the 5th and 6th years weren't his match. She didn't expect to be trash in Qin Lang's eyes. "How arrogant of you. If my big brother Yun is trash, then who isn't trash in this world? Qin Lang, if you don't dare to accept the challenge, then admit defeat in front of everyone and give up your ranking. Don't act all high and mighty and make us look down on you. The hot girl behind Hao Yun mocked with disdain. My big brother Yun has the bloodline of an ancient god. He has immense strength and can kill you like a dog. Qin Lang, if you don't dare to accept the challenge, then just say it. Don't embarrass yourself here. The billboard hasn't changed for 200 years. I think the next time it changes, you might not even be in the top 30, the few people behind Hao Yun scolded. Hao Yun didn't say anything and just looked at Qin Lang coldly. She brought so many people today to provoke Qin Lang so that she could show off her skills to defeat him and replace him. My true dragon roar has been cultivated to the 7th stage. I just need one attack to defeat Qin Lang. Let's see if he will fight today. If he doesn't, then I will vent my anger on Yi Qin Han. Hao Yun sneered in her heart. I am destined to be famous today. Yi Qin Han is also a good stepping stone. However, Qin Lang was indeed infuriated. His temper wasn't good and he wouldn't take the initiative to provoke others. However, once he was provoked, he would explode easily. Hao Yun, do you really want to die? I will fulfill your wish. Let's meet in the martial arts arena in 2 hours. After Qin Lang finished speaking, he brought Yi Qin Han back to the Qin residence. Brother Yi, you stay at home and wait for Cairo. I will go and kill Hao Yun, Qin Lang said indifferently. Yi Qin Han smiled. An existence like Qin Lang was definitely rare in the mythological plane. His temper was extremely bad. It was better not to provoke him, but if he did, he wouldn't live to see the next day. This Hao Yun is a direct descendant of the Hao Jia, a 12th-rank aristocratic family from the 3 clear divine kingdom. Killing him might cause trouble. Just teach him a lesson and forget about it. Yi Qin Han reminded. This kind of trash isn't worth wasting your energy on. Indeed, he isn't worth my energy. However, he keeps buzzing around my ears like a fly. He is really detestable. I have already tolerated him 3 times. I will not give him a 5th chance. Qin Lang was about to leave after he finished speaking. Suddenly, a terrifying aura came from outside the Qin residence. It was majestic and mighty, and it instantly alarmed Yi Qin Han and Qin Lang. Qin Lang frowned. In the past, not many people came to the Qin residence. Why were there so many people today? Did they discuss this beforehand? It's the prefecture lord of the West Garrison. Yi Qin Han had seen him once before. This kind of aura was easy to recognize. Brothers, may I come in? The prefecture lord of the West Garrison asked indifferently. Please come in. Qin Lang replied indifferently. This prefecture lord of the West Garrison had never visited him before. It seemed like his purpose today was for Yi Qin Han. Qin Lang gestured to the prefecture lord of the West Garrison and said, Prefecture lord, please come in. I will come back after killing someone. You can chat first. The prefecture lord of the West Garrison looked like a middle-aged man in his 40s. He had a square face and looked very dignified. When he was young, he must have been a handsome man who was ranked on the Fengyun list. You want to kill Hao Yun? This person is from the 3 clear divine kingdoms Hao clan. Now that he has come to my West Garrison, it is indeed not good to kill him directly. It will affect the relationship between my West Garrison, the Hao clan, and the Tian Ke Divine College. Brother Qin, please give me some face and teach him a lesson. If he goes too far, just kill him. The prefecture lord of the West Garrison spoke with a commanding tone. Qin Lang frowned. He didn't pay any attention to the prefecture lord of the West Garrison and turned to leave. The prefecture lord of the West Garrison understood Qin Lang. Therefore, he didn't interact with him normally. Otherwise, the 2 of them would definitely fight. This guy, Sai. With his temper, he will cause trouble sooner or later. The prefecture lord of the West Garrison shook his head and said. Yi Qinghan looked at him and bowed slightly. Thank you, Prefecture Lord, for your help last time. I will do my best to repay you in the future. Prefecture Lord Yi is too polite. My attitude depends on the Divine Kingdom. If Prefecture Lord Yi is grateful, you should be grateful to the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom for leading the crazed prefecture to return to the Divine Kingdom. After all, this territory originally belonged to the Divine Kingdom. If Prefecture Lord Yi is unwilling, just pretend I didn't say anything. The Prefecture Lord of the West Garrison said indifferently. Chapter 619. The West Garrison was clearly here to determine the ownership of Crazy Manor. However, Yi Qinghan only wanted to make his territory a business legend. He did not want to be involved in any wars. As long as he could destroy God's organization's prestige, the 3 divine kingdoms and the 3 academies would have to think twice before making things difficult for Crazy Manor. Yi Qinghan did not respond to the West Garrison Prefecture Lord's words. Instead, he changed the subject and asked, Lord Garrison Prefecture Lord, are you here just to persuade me? What else do you want? The West Garrison Prefecture Lord was silent for a moment. Then he said in a deep voice, I just want to remind you that God's organization behind Taizhan is not as simple as you think. There are nearly 3,000 prefecture lords in the world. Half of them work for God's organization. When they are not united, even the divine kingdoms have to think twice. There are even people from God's organization in the divine kingdom's palace. If you offend them, it will be difficult for your Crazy Manor to develop. Yi Qinghan smiled and asked calmly, so you're saying that I should compromise and hand over the Southern Mountains Pass superintendent to them? Are we going to let them slaughter us? Actually, if you pledge your loyalty to the divine kingdom of the sacred dragon, the divine kingdom will step in and hand over a few people to let Taizhan vent his anger. Then, you can apologize in public and pay some compensation. This matter will be over. Sorry, I can't do that. To be honest, I'm not afraid of God's organization. At worst, we can just break up and leave with Crazy Manor. Yi Qinghan coldly rejected the West Garrison Prefecture Lord's good intentions. However, Yi Qinghan felt that this humiliation was not well-intentioned. Prefecture Lord Ye's background is unknown and you have such a senior brother. I think you are also someone with a background. I wonder which superior god's disciple you are. Western Garrison Prefecture Lord probed. The West Garrison Prefecture Lord was also a person who had been conferred the title of king. He also had the royal bloodline of the sacred dragon divine kingdom. Naturally, he hoped that Yi Qinghan would pledge his loyalty to the royal family and guard the sacred dragon divine kingdom with him. At this moment, he wanted to know more about Yi Qinghan's background. Yi Qinghan smiled. He could tell that this prefecture lord of the Western Garrison was here to inquire about his identity. Coincidentally, at this moment, Qin Lang walked back with his body covered in blood. Even his clothes were torn. It didn't even take him an hour to come and go, and he was actually injured. Yi Qinghan and Lord Jinshi looked at Qin Lang's cold face. Hao Yun was injured again. They reckoned that Hao Yun was doomed. Even if he didn't die, he would be crippled. You killed him? Lord Jinshi asked indifferently. No, I crippled his godhead and broke his meridians. His injuries are irreversible. I think he won't bother me again in the future, Qin Lang said calmly. Western Garrison Liege Lord shook his head. It seemed that Qin Lang's eccentric character could not be changed. Not only was he unable to communicate with others, he also offended people every day. This time, he had offended both the Tian Ke Divine College and the Hao clan in one go. Forget it. If you have killed him, then so be it. This is the West Garrison Prefecture, not the Sanqing Divine Kingdom. Both of them will have to think twice before seeking revenge. After Western Garrison Liege Lord finished speaking, he stood up and looked at the two of them. This time, I am mainly here to tell you that in half a month, there will be an auction in the West Garrison Prefecture. There will be many treasures and many things that young people like you will need. Don't miss it. At that time, there will be many elites on the wind cloud list. Oh. It seems that I will have to postpone my return. Yi Qinghan's interest was piqued. The insane sect's inner sect was in a period of rapid development. The most important thing was to obtain treasures, elixirs, and secret techniques. This will be the biggest auction held by the Sacred Dragon Divine Kingdom in the past 30 years. It will gather all the treasures collected by various auction houses. The Divine Kingdom's auction, which is held once every 30 years, was set to be held in the West Garrison Prefecture 3 years ago. In a few days, there will be many experts arriving. The West Garrison Prefecture will be very lively. This time, I am not only here to inform you of the auction, but also to ask the two of you to help me guard the West Garrison Prefecture. This auction is no small matter and will attract many prefecture masters. The experts sent by the Divine Kingdom have not arrived yet. I am worried that I can't handle all the heroes of the world alone. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. Now that the time and location have been announced by the Divine Kingdom, the two of you should stay in the West Garrison Prefecture for the time being. I believe that it will be very lively in 3 to 5 days. Some old monsters who have been living in seclusion will appear. In addition, there will be various overlords. Sigh, this auction, is a blessing or a curse? The Western Garrison Liege Lord shook his head. The huge auction was an opportunity for development for the Western Garrison, but it was also a catastrophe. If the Western Garrison Liege Lord could suppress all the overlords in the world, they would gain a huge amount of wealth. But if they couldn't suppress them, the entire Western Garrison Liege Lord would be razed to the ground, and the auction would develop into a robbery operation. Yi Qinghan nodded and agreed. He would protect the West Garrison Prefecture for the next few days as a form of repayment for the West Garrison Prefecture's help. Prefecture Master Yi, please stay in the West Garrison Prefecture. The treasures will appear in batches in the West Garrison Prefecture. They will all be kept in the West Garrison Prefecture. Fellow Daoist, you can guard them with me. I can also hold a welcome dinner for you. If fellow Daoist Qin doesn't mind, you can join in the fun tonight, the West Garrison Prefecture Lord said. Not interested. I'm going to cultivate the great Nirvana sword art. Don't bother me if you don't have anything to do. Qin Lang bluntly rejected the invitation. He turned and walked towards the courtyard on the lake outside the prefecture. Before he left, he said, "Take care. I won't be seeing you off." Yi Qinghan finally understood that Qin Lang's temper was not only eccentric but also eccentric. He didn't have the slightest intention of interacting with others. Even Gu Qingyu wasn't like him. It was a miracle that someone like him could make friends. After that, Yi Qinghan instructed the housekeeper of the Qin Manor to let that person go to the West Garrison Prefecture Lord's Manor if anyone was looking for him. Obviously, Yi Qinghan was worried that Cairo would come looking for him. Cairo, who was ranked 8th, was worth roping in. If they could reach an agreement, the strength of the crazed prefecture would increase greatly. When Yi Qinghan and the West Garrison Prefecture Lord arrived at the West Garrison Prefecture, it was already afternoon. The West Garrison Prefecture Lord didn't invite anyone else. He only gathered the younger generation of the clan and introduced them to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan didn't know what the West Garrison Prefecture Lord wanted to do. There were 10 pairs of men and women. All of them looked to be in their teens. The boys were handsome and talented while the girls were beautiful and pure. There were all kinds of girls. These 20 people are the elites of the West Garrison Prefecture. Their talents aren't bad. Some of them are from poor families while some are from the direct bloodline of my manor. Does Daoist Yi think that they are worth nurturing? The West Garrison Prefecture Lord said indifferently. Yi Qinghan looked at the group of men and women in the hall. All the elites of the manor should be here. Indeed, they were all very good. Some of them were unruly, some were full of envy, some had unconcealable adoration in their eyes, and some were introverted. They all had different personalities. "Father, I heard that Yi Qinghan of the crazed prefecture is here. Why didn't you call me?" Just as Yi Qinghan was sizing up the group of people, a white figure suddenly flashed by outside the hall. The young girl's face was as white as jade. She was about 1.7 meters tall and slender, but her figure was curvaceous. Her long skirt swayed in the wind, making her look like a charming fairy. Yi Qinghan looked up and also felt that this girl was like a celestial being. She could be considered a peerless beauty. Chapter 620. The girl looked at Yi Qinghan with fiery eyes as if she was looking at her idol. Her fiery eyes were almost spewing flames. If there weren't so many people around, she would have already rushed up and hugged Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan had never seen such fiery eyes. It wasn't love, but worship. Western Garrison Liege Lord looked at the girl trembling all over as if she was enduring. He couldn't help but frown and reprimand her. How can a girl lose her composure like this? Ah! The girl screamed in a sharp and ear-piercing voice. She directly pounced on Yi Qinghan and cried out in a crisp voice, "It's really Yi Qinghan. So handsome." Yi Qinghan was stunned. He didn't expect this girl to be even crazier than Emperor Yi. He quickly dodged to the side and helplessly looked at Western Garrison Liege Lord. Western Garrison Liege Lord smiled bitterly. His only precious daughter, Long Shui, had been spoiled since she was young. She was lawless and had no respect for her elders. All the brothers in the Western Garrison Liege Lord's residence couldn't subdue her. Even when she went to the capital of Scandinavia, the princes and playboys had to avoid her. "Manor Lord Yi, this girl is my daughter. Her name is Long Shui. Ever since she learned that you single-handedly defeated the Iron Battle mercenary group, she has been treating you like an idol. She's not crazy, it's just that." Western Garrison Liege Lord didn't know how to explain and was at a loss for words. Yi Qinghan understood the girl's worship, so he had to maintain a cold attitude and keep a respectful distance. He had to let this worship remain worship and not develop into love. Therefore, he looked down at Long Shui and nodded like an elder. Long Shui was stunned. She didn't expect Yi Qinghan to keep such a distance from her. "Big brother Yi, I really admire you. You're so handsome. I've collected many images of you. Ah, show me a set of saber techniques. I want to record it. My sisters will definitely envy me to death. Ha 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 ha, I'm going crazy with joy." Long Shui shouted happily. "Yi Qinghan, don't mess around. Fellow Taoist Yi is the dignified manor lord, the master of the sect. How can he play with you?" Western Garrison Liege Lord said helplessly and pretended to be angry. "Father. I only have this one wish, hurry up and get him to fulfill it. Or I'll be angry." Long Shui willfully looked at Western Garrison Liege Lord and Yi Qinghan as if she wouldn't give up until she got what she wanted. Below, a group of boys and girls covered their mouths and snickered. The dignified manor head would have a headache whenever he saw the willful princess. Only Long Shui could restrain the Western Garrison Liege Lord. Looking at the 3 black lines on the Western Garrison Liege Lord's forehead, she wanted to laugh in her heart but didn't dare to. Brainless girl. Western Garrison Liege Western Garrison T's Western Garrisons. CT. T. Western Divint, it T. Her T Nent her. Her T. Her T S her. Her eyes. You dare to call me a moron? Long Shui took a deep breath and angrily said. At this moment, everyone looked at the divine bird curiously. Some people could recognize the devouring soul divine parrot, but there were many who couldn't. They only felt that this parrot was very cute, but also somewhat courting death. It even dared to scold the princess of the Western Garrison liege lord's mansion. Tisk, tsk, you know you're a moron. You can't be scolded by others. It seems you can still be saved. The divine bird replied in a strange tone. Shut up. Don't talk nonsense. Yi Qinghan frowned. He didn't want to offend Western Garrison liege lord. Humph, master. Little master told me to keep an eye on you. You're not allowed to hook up with people, especially beautiful women. This divine bird doesn't agree with little master. But I won't allow you to do anything. If you dare to talk to her, I'll go on a hunger strike. The divine bird seriously said. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes. Is this bastard here to ruin my show? I'm going to roast this lowly bird. Long Shui roared as she stretched out her jade hand to grab the divine bird. Yi Qinghan's will shot out from his eyes, distorting space and imprisoning Long Shui. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't cross the distance between them. In any case, Long Shui was a lesser god priest, and an extremely powerful one at that. At this moment, she actually couldn't withstand a wisp of Yi Qinghan's will. Everyone in the main hall was stunned. Was this the power of the manor head? Could he kill someone with his will alone? Western Garrison liege lord was also very astonished. Yi Qinghan's performance had nothing to do with his strength. Instead, it was his understanding of the soul and spatial laws. With just a glance, he was able to suppress an extreme lower-level Supreme Tao Almighty to the point of being unable to move. He had already surpassed his peers by far too much. Long Shui's face turned red. She looked at Yi Qinghan as if she wanted to cry, but no tears came out. In the end, she gave up struggling. Yi Qinghan's clothes fluttered, and a will sent Long Shui to Western Garrison liege lord's side. You're bullying me too. I worshipped you so much. You scoundrel. Long Shui glared at Yi Qinghan. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws as if she couldn't wait to tear apart Yi Qinghan and the divine bird. Just give up, you naughty little girl. When are you going to the crazy manor? Let the little master teach you how to be a woman. The divine bird's eyes flickered as it looked at Long Shui, wanting to torture her. Western Garrison liege lord recognized the divine bird and hurriedly transmitted his voice to Long Shui, reminding her, Shui, this is the devouring soul parrot. It has no integrity at all. Don't even believe its words, understand? Long Shui suffered a loss in silence. She angrily glared at the divine bird, but it glared back at her. Just as the divine bird was arguing with Long Shui, its eyes suddenly lit up. It looked outside and muttered, there's a treasure nearby. Sure enough, someone quickly came to report that 3 experts had come to pay a visit. Western Garrison liege lord personally welcomed them outside the manor and led them to the main hall. The 3 of them were old men who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. They were not as strong as the manor lord, but they were all mid-level almighty experts, only 1 step away from the peak realm. The 3 of them looked at Yi Qinghan cautiously. They didn't recognize him. This is Manor Lord Yi Qinghan of the Crazy Manor. I invited him to protect the treasure. You can trust him. Western Garrison liege lord introduced them one by one. These 3 are Taoists from the 3 clear divine kingdoms Supreme God Auction House. Yi Qinghan nodded at the 3. The 3 of them were quite surprised. Yi Qinghan had offended so many organizations by developing the Crazy Manor Auction House. The Supreme God Auction House would definitely pay special attention to Yi Qinghan. How could they not have heard of Yi Qinghan's name? So it's Manor Lord Yi. We've been disrespectful. The 3 of them said coldly. Western Garrison liege lord could see that the 3 of them were very dissatisfied with Yi Qinghan. He quickly changed the topic and said, fellow Taoists, give me the treasure. I'll set up evidence for you. At that moment, the divine bird secretly said to Yi Qinghan, the treasure on these 3 people is a chaos treasure, the Chaos Heavenly Lotus Seed. I've already smelled its fragrance. Master, take it and you'll be able to control the law of chaos. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows. This kind of treasure was not so easy to obtain unless it was traded internally. If it was auctioned, it would be sold at a sky-high price. Now that his five-element Tao body had been cultivated to the peak realm, if he wanted to develop the 9 revolutions Chaos Tao body, he could collect treasures related to the great Tao of heaven and earth. The Chaos Heavenly Lotus was one of them. Yi Qinghan was clearly tempted. Chapter 621. Yi Qinghan looked at the 5 primal Chaos Heavenly Lotus seeds that the 3 experts took out. They were filled with the profoundness of chaos. Although it was unknown how many eras had passed, they still retained a majestic vitality. As long as they were carefully nurtured, they could still reappear in the world. Yi Qinghan understood that the Supreme Treasure Auction House had something against him. It was impossible for them to be traded internally. If they were to be sold at the auction house, it would be very difficult to buy them. Mansion Master Long, can you buy this item through an internal transaction? Yi Qinghan stared at Western Garrison Liege Lord and asked via voice transmission. Moreover, these Chaos Heavenly Lotus seeds have existed since the beginning of the world. There isn't much vitality left, and the profound laws aren't very clear. Although there are 5 of them, the chances of comprehending the profound mysteries of primal chaos from them are less than 10%. Spending 500,000 high-grade spirit crystals is really unwise. It's better to auction them directly. Who knows, you might not even need 300,000, reminded Western Garrison Liege Lord. 500,000 high-grade spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan frowned. 500,000 high-grade spirit crystals were equivalent to 50 million mid-grade spirit crystals and 5 billion low-grade spirit crystals. The key was that others had high-grade spirit crystals, so it was impossible for them to exchange for mid-grade spirit crystals, let alone low-grade spirit crystals. Even the crazy mansion couldn't take out 500,000 high-grade spirit crystals. Helpless, he could only give up on the internal transaction. The price of the Primal Chaos Heavenly Lotus Seed was 250,000 high-grade spirit crystals. This price was already the last transaction price of the Primal Chaos Heavenly Lotus Seed. He might not be able to buy it at such a high price, so he could only wait. After a simple meal, Yi Qinghan no longer paid attention to the treasures that were continuously sent over. However, the divine bird was envious. Its eyes flickered with a thieving light. It wanted to steal the treasures it had set its eyes on, but it was suppressed by Yi Qinghan. That night, a black-clothed man appeared outside the Western Garrison Liege Lord's residence. His entire body was as black as ink, and his bamboo hat covered his upper body. He held a long rod in his hand. Even the rod was black in color. It was completely compatible with the night. Go and report that I'm looking for Yi Qinghan. The black-clothed man's voice was hoarse, and there was an indescribable vicissitude in it. The guard at the gate frowned and was about to reprimand the intruder when the man in black's cold eyes pierced through the bamboo hat and pierced into the guard's eyes. The few low-level god priests were so scared that their legs almost turned to jelly. One of them turned around and ran toward the backyard. Yi Qinghan was in the middle of training in the profound mysteries of the 5 elements, striving to train the other 4 elemental essences to the god level as well, adjusting the harmony of the 5 elements. Upon hearing that a black-clothed man was looking for him, he hurriedly ran out of the manor. Seeing the black-clothed man's vigorous figure, he knew that this man was Cyril. I've been waiting for a long time. Please come in. Yi Qinghan cherished talents. Someone who could reach 8th place on the wind cloud list was definitely a terrifying existence. Someone who had managed to escape the pursuit of God's organization all by himself was not surprising at all. Silo stared fixedly at Yi Qinghan for a long time before stepping into the Western Garrison Liege Lord's residence. Long Shui discovered the 2 of them and went forward to stop them, but she was stopped by the divine bird. Little brat, come and talk to this divine bird about life's ideals. I can give you what you want. Are you interested? The divine bird grinned. Yi Qinghan did not want to be delayed by Long Shui, so he left the divine bird behind and let it fool Long Shui. Don't hurt her. The rest is up to you, Yi Qinghan said before leading Silo to the guest room area. In the guest room area, in the dragon residence hall, the two of them sat across from each other. I can help you, and I can even fight to the death for you. But if I'm lucky enough to survive, I need the crazy manor to guarantee my safety and quietly transfer me out of here. Silo went straight to the point. In order to take revenge, he did not care about the reward. As long as he could kill a member of God's organization, it would be fine. Good. I can promise you that even if all the mansion masters of the entire mythological plane and the 3 elders of God's organization personally come, they will not be able to kill you. Yi Qinghan was extremely confident. With the 9 remoteness master around, he was not afraid of the superior God's priest at all. Siro took off his bamboo hat. There was actually a scar across his handsome face. It was a ghastly sight. If this scar was removed, Siro would definitely be a rare handsome man. However, at this moment, he was actually so frightening. He looked like a young man in his 20s, but he seemed to have experienced the vicissitudes of time and space for millions of years. Yi Qinghan did not say much. He could feel the ruthlessness and hatred in Silo's heart. God's organization had massacred a large clan, so how could he not hate them? In order to collect the bloodline of the ancient giant god, God's organization massacred my clan and drained their blood essence in front of me. You know this hatred. I don't want to give up my life for a moment of happiness. If you can't guarantee my life after the battle, then don't agree. Silo warned in a hoarse voice. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists, and his mind spun quickly. God's organization was collecting the bloodline of the ancient giant god, so it was not that simple. It was very likely that they were studying the ancient giant god and wanted to restore the glory of the ancient giant god era. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice, I understand. If fellow Taoist helps me, I can guarantee with my life that as long as you are in the crazy mansion, no one will be able to kill you. I also have the ability to send you out of the control of God's organization. What guarantee do you have? You even had to run around everywhere to seek help for the competition. How can I trust you? Silo asked, wanting to feel at ease. Yi Qinghan smiled proudly and said confidently, because I have an existence behind me that even the god lords do not dare to offend. Because I am Yi Qinghan. I dare to fight against God's organization, so I am not afraid of them. Alright, I am only a member of Azura. I have no interest in the help they seek. I hope you understand, Silo said in a serious tone. Yi Qinghan nodded. If Silo agreed to help, the crazy mansion's chances of winning would greatly increase. There was no need to send the weaker members of the inner sect to die. The inner sect members had accompanied him through countless difficult times, and he did not want to leave anyone behind. Don't tell anyone about my identity. Until now, I have only trusted one person, and that is the crazy God Saber monarch. Now, there is one more person, Silo said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan nodded and pushed a jade slip in front of Silo. He said indifferently, this is called the Great Nirvana Sword Art. This is only the first form. If you like it, you can cultivate it. After the competition is over, I will send the other 2 forms to you. There is less than half a year before the big battle. During this time, you can stay here. I will return to the crazy mansion after the auction is over next month. Silo nodded and held the jade slip. He had lost most of his clan's secret techniques and did not dare to reveal his identity. Most of the secret techniques he cultivated were not strong. If Yi Qinghan could take out a secret technique, it would definitely be of a high level. It was impossible for him not to want it. However, what he wanted the most was not the Great Nirvana Sword Art. I heard that you have a 12th grade fire source. Can you give me some? My ancestor is the Chaos Fire Master God. I have the inheritance of the Master God, but I do not have a fire source. If I have a 12th grade fire source, I can awaken the Master God's bloodline in my body. Silo stared at Yi Qinghan and asked in a hoarse voice. Chapter 622. The competition between the medium god temple and Emperor Yi became more and more brutal, but the endless plains returned to peace. This was because the heavenly Tao had once communicated with the Emperor Yi and benefited her. Now, she had grown so much that she actually had the ability to reach the god temple realm. The elites of the past, the existences of the same era as Yi Qinghan, either entered the middle plane and disappeared or hid in the endless plains. Now, they appeared in such a high-profile manner. There were actually people who had broken through to the god temple realm, and Yi Feng was one of them. However, after reaching the god temple realm, he sensed Emperor Shang. The old man who had once worked so hard for the endless plains was now traveling in the wilderness, constantly searching for something. The numerous calamities back then had destroyed many traces of time, so it was not easy to find a broken sword. Now, the great Tao and space of the endless plains were abnormally stable. It was not something that could be torn apart by the God Temple realm. Even the God Temple realm could not cover the entire wilderness with their divine sense. The stars were growing and expanding, and the entire wilderness was also changing. The traces of time outlined the tragic events back then. The god-slaying ancestors' only emperor weapon left behind, the emperor's sword. Now, it seemed that there were countless great emperors in the world, and divine weapons were also slowly appearing. However, some glory could not be replaced by the God Temple realm. The achievements left behind by the god-slaying ancestor could not be erased by the God Temple realm. The god-slaying organization was still high and mighty, but it was no longer as revered as before. There was no danger, no crisis. Their heroic spirit had long been exhausted. I cannot let the faith of the god-slaying organization disappear in my hands. Emperor Shang's weathered face was filled with sorrow. The god-slaying organization had gone through countless difficulties and dangers, and who knew how many martyrs had died to obtain this situation. The god-slaying organization could not lose their faith just because the emperor's sword was broken. After searching for half a year, Emperor Shang finally found the lightning region. When he saw the broken emperor's sword still stabbed into the rock like a man, his eyes were filled with tears. The spirit of the emperor's sword was already dead, and only half of the sword was left. Emperor Shang pulled it out, and it was as if he had returned to the past. Yi Feng looked from afar. He had experienced that era and understood Emperor Shang's sadness. He could not help but sigh. Senior, now that the plain is peaceful, why are you still clinging to the past? Be vigilant in times of peace, never forget the past. The glory of our ancestors will never be erased by time. The glory of our killing shrine will never be erased. No matter what era it is, deity slayers must always remember that the lives we have today were bought with the blood and lives of our ancestors. Di Shang looked at Yi Feng. He vaguely remembered that these young people had participated in battles to the death when they were very young. It was not easy for them to survive until now. Yi Feng was silent. Di Shang took the broken sword and returned to the ancient killing god organization. There were many unfamiliar faces here, but Di Shang's face was not unfamiliar to them. Di Shang's return to the ancient massacre god palace instantly shook the entire imperial region. The current controller of the massacre god palace was an extremely powerful massacre god in the past. His name was Yan Nan, and he had already grown into an old man. At this moment, when he looked at Di Shang, he actually cried like a child. Yan Nan reorganized the ancient massacring gods and hunters. I want the ancient massacring gods to regain their fighting spirit. I want the glory of the ancient massacring gods to be eternal. The ancient massacre gods who don't have the strength and mental fortitude are all eliminated. The ancient massacre gods don't want trash. Di Shang said coldly. Yes. Lord. Yan Nan had long wanted to reorganize the ancient massacring gods. War could make people's fighting spirit rise, but a luxurious life could also temper a person's will. The ancient massacre gods and hunters had already lost their fighting spirit. Because they were high and mighty, no one dared to provoke them. Even the current deity's palace had to give them face. In the godly slaughter world, Di Shang took out the origin of fire and godly metal he had brought from the mythological plane. After 49 days of tempering and refining, he finally melted them into a liquid state. As the liquid boiled, the temperature of the godly slaughter world spread to the outside world. Di Shang's godhead flew out of his body. His godly body carried the broken emperor's sword and directly plunged into the molten metal. Ah! A mournful scream resounded through the mountains and rivers. The entire ancient massacre god organization was alarmed. Even the heavenly Tao was shaken. In order to restore the emperor's sword, Di Shang used his godly body's flesh and blood to melt into the molten metal. His powerful body couldn't withstand the burning of an 11th grade god flame and instantly disappeared. The molten metal seemed to have a spirit of its own. It was as if it was alive. It was strange and beautiful. It automatically took shape and evolved into the emperor's sword. It was exactly the same as the sword of the past. It was austere and majestic. It contained the fire origin and could tear apart space at any time. Di Shang's godhead was controlled by his soul. Seeing the emperor's sword return, it constantly trembled. The godhead directly flew into the emperor's sword and fused with it. With his flesh and blood as the sword body and his soul as the sword spirit, he had directly given up his life for the ancient massacre god and the emperor's sword. After becoming the sword spirit, he lost his own thoughts. He was completely based on the emperor's sword spirit of the past. The sword was still the emperor's sword, but Di Shang had completely disappeared. When Di Shang returned from the myth world, he had already prepared himself for death. For the ancient massacre god, for the glory of the massacre god organization, he would die without regret. Boom boom boom. Heaven and earth rumbled. Lightning tore through space and time and appeared in the sky above the massacre god world. It directly forcefully pulled the emperor's sword out and brought it into the universe. Countless lightning bolts covered the emperor's sword, and it let out a soft cry. It turned into a ray of divine light and shot into the sky. Countless lightning bolts descended from the heavens and cleansed the emperor's sword, acknowledging it. Snow fell for thousands of miles, and time reversed. A few words were carved on the sword. On the front was Emperor's sword, and on the back was a line of small words. Ancient massacre god, even in death, massacre god immortal, eternal glory. This was the only mark left by Di Shang. Heaven and earth mourned. Not only did the heavens acknowledge the emperor's sword, but it also acknowledged Di Shang's actions. It directly took the emperor's sword away and sent it into the heavens. It used the mysteries of the heavens to strengthen the emperor's sword. The mysteries of the heavens and the source of all laws condensed into the emperor's sword. 2 more words appeared on the front of the emperor's sword, Heavenly Tao. Heavenly Tao, human emperor's sword. Enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. When this sword appeared, it represented the supreme glory of the endless plains. Once it succeeded, its level would be unimaginable. It would definitely surpass Yi Qinghan's 7-foot berserk sword. It might even become a legendary superior divine weapon. However, whether it could become a superior divine weapon or not, Di Shang could not do anything. It would depend on the heaven's ability and its future potential. If it could develop into a middle plane, this heavenly Tao human emperor's sword would definitely become a superior divine weapon. However, if it became a divine weapon, it would have its own sword spirit and its own destiny. It would protect the endless universe and protect the ancient massacre god. Not just anyone could use the Emperor's sword. At this moment, the entire plane could feel the pressure of heaven and earth increase. It was heavy and full of sorrow. Chapter 623. In the endless plains, myths and legends were born. The heavens blessed the world, and the sword merged with the way of heaven. At this moment, all the creatures born in the endless plains felt a powerful force coming from their bodies, and they felt the way of heaven. Yi Qing Han from the mythological dimension was an expert from the inner sect of the insane faction. Emperor Yi, in particular, had benefited the most. He had directly stepped into the realm of a medium god, and his soul had been strengthened by more than a few times. Not only these people, but also the ancestors of the human race, the masters who came out of the endless plains, all felt the power from the plains. Most of those people became gods. After all, anyone who could become a human ancestor would have a high level of cultivation. It was especially so for the supreme beings of the past who had left countless legends in the endless plains, such as Shenong. Several Renhuangs woke up from their seclusion at the same time. They looked up at the sky and sighed softly. Has the endless plains leveled up? In the endless plains. Whoosh! Whoosh! The heavenly way human emperor sword flew between heaven and earth, and the killing god's power spread out. The ancient killing god was full of vitality again. Even if he died on the battlefield, he would not regret it. This was the inheritance and faith of the ancient killing god. As long as the faith existed, the killing god's faith would never die. The masters of the various temples came out of seclusion and knelt in front of the sword. The temples believed in the people who had made great contributions to the endless plains, and they believed in the people who saved the endless plains from the abyss of hell. The biggest temple was naturally the temple of war. The person who dared to call himself the god of war was naturally the person who uprooted the forbidden land, Yi Qing Han. At this moment, they were all willing to kneel. This emperor's sword had a special meaning. Whether it was the one in the past or the one now, they all represented the same meaning, which was to protect. The words on the back of the divine sword turned into golden light and rushed to every corner of the endless plains. The ancient killing god, even if he died, he would not regret it. As long as the killing god was not destroyed, his glory would be eternal. At this moment, this emperor's sword not only represented the ancient killing god, but also the way of heaven. This was the second time the way of heaven had recognized a sword after Emperor Yi. Jian Qinxue stepped out of the river of time and appeared thousands of miles away, looking at the heavenly way human emperor's sword. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Thousands of miles of mountains and rivers, all the heroes of the world came out. Looking at the small line of words on the back of the sword, his heart suddenly became sour. That's right. Now, the endless plains had become stronger. The heavenly Tao was sentimental, and all living things had their own will and freedom. But what did they rely on? Without the human sovereign sword, there would be no endless plains today. Although they were living a good life now, were they going to forget their fighting spirit? If the Quanzong were to be defeated one day, who would stand in front of them? People must rely on themselves. Yi Feng looked at the Renhuang sword from afar. He did not want to take it for himself. Now that the Renhuang sword had appeared, Emperor Shang had not appeared. The origin of this sword was self-evident. Using one's life to create a sword was not something that just anyone could have. No one disliked this guardian sword, but most of them were able to get rid of their greed. However, some of them couldn't hold it in any longer and directly flew up into the sky, rushing towards the mortal sovereign sword. Whoosh! The sword light shattered the heaven and earth, and a strand of sword chi shattered the bodies of those experts. Blood spilled over the mountains and rivers, shocking everyone. Now, the protector sword was no longer an imperial weapon. It was a mid-tier divine artifact. Sooner or later, it would be promoted to a high-level divine artifact. Once the heavenly path was promoted or Emperor Yi was promoted to a high-level divine artifact, this protector sword would also be promoted to a high-level divine artifact. When Emperor Yi became a superior divine priest, he would become a medium divine weapon. When the heavenly way was promoted, so would the guardian sword. On that day, a huge earthquake occurred in the ancient massacre god. Some of them were demoted to hunters, and some were even directly kicked out of the ancient massacre god. The ancient massacre god announced that they would show the glory of the past. The true ancient massacre god would all die on the battlefield. With the human sovereign sword, whoever dared to be dissatisfied would be killed. Most of the people who were kicked out of the ancient massacre god were young masters of aristocratic families. Unfortunately, they didn't succeed and instead became a laughingstock. Jian Qinxue pointed at the human sovereign sword, and it automatically flew into his hand, continuously emitting a dazzling divine light. Looking at the words carved on the back of the sword, he knew that this sword was exchanged with Di Shang's life. He couldn't help but sigh. Holding the sword, he directly entered the deity realm and handed the sword to Di Longtian. Di Longtian held the sword and kept stroking it. He didn't expect that Di Shang's departure would be an eternal farewell. The strong big boy shed tears, which dripped onto the back of the sword, giving off a pleasant sound. It was like the sound of nature. When the people in the inner sect found out that Di Shang had turned his body into a sword and his godhead into a sword spirit, they all came out of seclusion to comfort Di Longtian. Emperor Ye's eyes reddened. Di Shang was still his master. Even though he had never called him master, deep in his heart, he greatly approved of Di Shang. Di Shang was a tragic person. Even though he had escaped death several times and saved countless lives, he couldn't stop the obsession in his heart. He used his own life to exchange for the glory and inheritance of the ancient massacre god. Little Tian, now that the ancient massacre god is changing, you probably have to go back. After all, this is an internal matter of the ancient massacre god. It's not good for me to interfere, Jian Qinxue said gently. Di Longtian pursed his lips and nodded. However, he soon shook his head. There was less than half a year before the competition started. What if he couldn't come back? Go back. Half a year is more than enough time for you to deal with the ancient massacre gods. Now that the ancient massacre gods are without a leader and have begun to change their ranks, you have no choice but to go back, Emperor Yi said. In the end, Di Longtian nodded. The ancient massacre god was his father's life's work. He couldn't just watch it go to waste. Sister Shui, take a few godhoods back. They might be useful. Emperor Yi waved his hand and took out a few of the best intermediate godhoods and lower godhoods, giving them to Jian Qinxue. The children are quite good. They are very talented and will definitely surpass me. I will nurture them well. You can develop here in peace. Jian Qinxue was very gentle and kept looking for Yi Qinghan. Unfortunately, she couldn't find him. Sister Shui, you have worked hard. Emperor Yi was very grateful. If Jian Qinxue didn't take care of so many children in the endless plains, how could the people of the inner sect cultivate in peace? Moreover, his children were still in the endless plains. Sister, what are you saying? They are also my children. The three of them are so young, yet they have already reached the emperor realm. I didn't even dare to think about it back then. After a few days, they will be able to refine the godhoods. At that time, I will send them here to train. Jian Qinxue looked at the mythical plane and yearned for it. However, with her children here, she had to protect Owl War Star. It has been very dangerous recently. Send them back in a few years. Let them cultivate well. Here are the secret techniques and divine medicines I have prepared for them. Emperor Yi kept all the good things and sent them back to Owl War Star. Many of the children's talents surpassed the adults of the inner sect. They were worth nurturing. No one envied the inner sect experts. After all, their children were also on Owl War Star. If Jian Qinxue wanted to nurture them, she would definitely nurture them all. Chapter 624. Di Longtian followed Jian Qinxue back to the endless world with the human sovereign sword in his hand. Yan Nan gave up his position, and Di Longtian became the leader of the ancient massacre god. Pass down my order, the ancient massacre god will begin to reduce members. I want the strongest elites, the most courageous men, the elites who dare to die for the world. Those who do not meet my requirements will either be demoted to hunters and be reassessed, or be kicked out of the ancient massacre god. In addition, increase the difficulty of the ancient massacre god's assessment by 10 times, and give out godheads as rewards. Anyone who becomes an emperor will receive a lesser godhead when they reach the emperor realm. Increase the difficulty of the hunter's assessment by 5 times, and give out emperor realm secret techniques and emperor realm cultivation insights as rewards. Di Longtian acted swiftly and decisively. As the dragon cavalry's supervisor, he was able to control the ancient massacre god with ease. Some of the higher-ups of the ancient massacre god were excited, while others were worried. Since Di Longtian wanted to reorganize the ancient massacre god, the higher-ups would be forced into a passive position. Sure enough, Di Longtian decided to completely reorganize the ancient massacre god, and the higher-ups were especially strict. However, the rewards were not small. Those who were truly capable would be happy, and those who were not would not be able to get godheads. It would be a miracle if they could keep their lofty status. The next day, the ancient massacre god once again shook the endless plains of existence. There were a total of 10 elders in the ancient massacre god's faction, but 7 of them were demoted to ordinary ancient massacre gods. However, 3 of them were rewarded with godhood and 300 low-grade god crystals. This was the most exciting reward. In the endless world, apart from geniuses like Yifeng, there were not many who could condense their own godheads. If they wanted to become a god, they had to obtain godheads. Entering the ancient killing god exam was the fastest way to become a god. The ancient massacre god became active again. Di Longtian had learned a lot from Yi Qinghan over the years, and his ability to control the ancient massacre god was very strong. His superior aura was very powerful, and no one dared to refute him. The reorganization of the ancient massacre god went very smoothly. Even if there were people who were dissatisfied, they could not change the situation. In the end, they were all kicked out. In order to obtain the title of ancient slaughter god for these so-called geniuses, the powerful families had started to send gifts to them. Unfortunately, how could the 3 remaining elders dare to bend the law? If he wanted to join the ancient massacre god, he would have to risk his life. If he failed, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Di Longtian's iron-blooded policy attracted the cheers and support of the true elites, but it also made many aristocratic families complain. They all went to Owl War Planet to complain, hoping that Jian Qinxue could intercede for them. However, they were all kicked out of Owl War Planet by Jian Qinxue. Owl War Star was now a holy land, an existence above the Dao realm holy lands, let alone the ordinary aristocratic families. Even the divine halls had to listen to Owl Warstar's orders. However, Owl Warstar could not issue many orders. The Wang clan was too lazy to care about worldly affairs. Yimengshi was in seclusion all year round, trying to break through to the divine priest realm. She was also condensing her own godhood. Therefore, although Owl Warstar was above the worldly affairs, only Jian Qinxue was qualified to issue orders. Anyone else's orders could be ignored. This was also to prevent some people from Owl Warstar from becoming corrupted and polluting the endless plains. On Owl Warstar, a group of little fellows were flying about in the sky and burrowing into the ground, making a ruckus. There were more than 10 little boys, most of them 5 or 6 years old, and there were more than 20 little girls of similar ages. They were all very cute and pretty, having inherited their parents' looks. Their talents were even more terrifying. There were more than 30 children, and the leader was none other than Yi Qintian. He was the abnormal kid who called himself God Qiantian the moment he was born. Void God Ye's aura was reserved, and he was different from Yi Qiantian. They were two extremes. Half of Yi Qiantian's nature came from Yi Qinghan's stability and arrogance, and the other half came from the divine bird's prenatal education. He was a little unreliable, and his actions were exaggerated. Void God Yi, on the other hand, inherited Emperor Ye's introverted and steady nature, cold but intelligent. However, the two little devils were afraid of Yi Yun-er. This little girl's cunning eyes were frightening, and her personality was almost the same as the divine bird's. Her prenatal education was too powerful, and she could easily kill people. God Qiantian, let's fight. Do you want to fight all of us alone, or do you want all of us to fight you? Yi Yun-er's round little face had a strange smile. She looked very smart. Yi Qiantian, there were more than 30 people. Not to mention Void God Yi, Lin Wuqian's son, Lin Feng with the sky sword body, Lu Outyan and Fairy Shenong's son, Lu Xianyu, and a group of monsters. Not to mention Yi Qiantian, even if a divine priest came, this group of children could take care of him. What? Aren't you called God Qiantian, and you are invincible? Why don't you dare? Yi Yun-er crossed her arms and asked with a pout. Humph. Who says I don't dare? But I have a stomachache today, and I'm not fit to fight. You guys play first, I'm going back to recuperate. Yi Qiantian quibbled. After he finished speaking, he rushed back to his old house, and no one called him out. Ha ha ha, God Qiantian admits defeat. Ha ha ha, the group of children were as close as brothers and sisters, and their laughter traveled far. The group of women covered their mouths and giggled. Jian Qinxue shook her head and sighed. Yi Qiantian had inherited all the advantages of Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. In a one-on-one fight, Void God Yi was slightly stronger than him. Lin Feng with the sky sword body and Void God Yi together might be able to force Yi Qiantian to a draw, but Yi Qiantian would not be able to take on more than 30 monsters. Only Xiao Yun-er can take care of Qiantian. This little guy is so arrogant all the time, he deserves to be taught a lesson. A young woman snickered. Yi Yun-er was also very happy. If she could take care of Yi Qiantian, she could take care of this group of children as well. She had become a lawless little princess. Xiao Zhanqing is boring. Let's go to the ancient god of massacre to play, okay? I heard that brother Xiao Tian is back, and he will reward us with a godhead. Let's go take the test, maybe we can get one. Yi Yun-er said excitedly. Wu Yi Qiantian, the little guy, rushed back from the ancestral house and shouted, I agree. It's much better than having a group of people beat me up. Aren't you sick? Void God Yi asked in a muffled voice. I've almost recovered, hee hee. Yi Qiantian scratched his head and laughed. A group of 5 or 6-year-old children was so cute that they became the most beautiful scenery on Xiao Zhanqing. With this group of children, the Wang family had long forgotten about Yi Qinghan and Yi Mingxi. After everyone had finished discussing, Yi Qiantian took the lead and led more than 35 or 6-year-old children out of Xiao Zhanqing, rushing toward the imperial domain. No one from Xiao Zhanqing followed them. They allowed the group of children to soar through the sky and burrow into the ground. These children's combat power was terrifying. Although they were young, if anyone dared to look down on them, they would be in serious trouble. Chapter 625. In the imperial domain, outside of the ancient massacre god, in the hunter's territory, numerous battles were taking place. Di Longtian began to mobilize the vitality of the entire boundless world, gathering geniuses, and preparing to bring the ancient massacre god into the mythical realm as well, creating an invincible battle team. Countless battles began at the same time. Just like in the past, all the different spaces opened at the same time, and life and death battles began. With the human sovereign sword, the ancient killing god finally returned to his original state, solemn and dignified, representing supreme power. Half of the Tao realm holy land of the past was restored, but the other half was forever buried in the river of history. The Zhan family recovered. The baby that was sent away in the past was actually the Zhan family's ancient war body. Now that he had become the family head, he was going to lead the Zhan family back to the peak. Owl War Star gave the Zhan family the greatest support, resources, secret techniques, and so on. The family head, Zhan Yun, had already entered the Emperor realm. At this moment, he was mobilizing the faith power of the family, preparing to condense a godhead and become a supreme god. As a war body, he already had the dignity of his ancestor, not losing to Di Long Tian. With the sky battle spear in hand, he was like a true war god. At this moment, Zhan Yun was heading to the ancient killing god to visit Di Long Tian. If Di Long Tian didn't count the days when he was sealed, he would be from the same era as him. He looked forward to seeing Di Long Tian go to the mythical realm in advance. Shio. Dozens of figures flashed in the sky above the imperial domain. They were all 5 or 6 years old, and the oldest was no more than 7 years old. They were as fast as lightning, rushing in front of Zhan Yun. "Hey, big brother Yun." A group of little guys surrounded Zhan Yun and touched his armor and spear, looking very envious. Zhan Yun thought he knew this group of little ancestors. He smiled and hugged Yi Yun, asking with a smile, "What are you little guys doing in the imperial domain? We heard that big brother Xiao Tian is back, so we came to disturb him and ask him to tell us about our father's battle results. This great god Qin Tian wants to go to the mythical realm to fight." Yi Qin Tian raised his little fist and said, "Haha, we have the same goal. Let's go see big brother Xiao Tian." Zhan Yun laughed and rushed towards the ancient killing god with a group of children. When such a large group of people rushed into the territory of the hunters, the appearance of so many children scared the ancient god of massacre. They must have come from the Owl War Star. So, the ancient god of massacre took out spirit fruits and treasures to coax these kids. Yi Qin Tian and the others didn't care about divine pellets and miraculous medicines at all. It was better to give them spiritual fruits. Therefore, everyone took out spiritual fruits and rare treasures. The group of little fellows was very generous. They took out secret techniques and godhoods to exchange. The secret techniques were fine, but the godhoods were something that the group of killing gods didn't dare to accept. Di Long Tian didn't stand on ceremony. Resources had to be fought for, and these little fellows didn't lack resources or talent. Even if they didn't need a godhead, they could still condense one. Since you've given it to me, just accept it. There's no need to be courteous with them. Di Long Tian laughed. Brother little Tian, take us to the mythical realm next time. Void God Yi looked at Di Long Tian with a serious expression and said excitedly. Di Long Tian rolled his eyes. If he took these little fellows to the mythical realm, the group of people from the inner sect would beat him to death. With so many little fellows, if something happened, the inner sect would probably go crazy. You are still young. When you are my age, I will come and pick you up. Di Long Tian didn't refuse. Instead, he drew a big pie that couldn't be eaten. That will take a long time. After all, we are only 5 years old. Yi Yun was helpless. Although they were smart, they were still too young. In addition, Jian Qinxue had sealed them for a period of time for them to grow up. Their real age was indeed only 5 years old. So there's no need to rush. If you want to go to war, you must first become a god and cultivate at least 3 powerful secret techniques. Once you have cultivated to the 3rd move of the great Nirvana sword art, I will take you there. Di Long Tian promised. Really? Yi Qin Tian was excited. He felt that cultivating a secret technique was very simple. However, he didn't know that Di Long Tian was cheating him. Even Yi Qinghan himself had only cultivated to the first move of the great Nirvana sword art. Di Longtian's lips curled into a sly smile as he nodded resolutely. Join my ancient massacre god and speed up your cultivation. I will teach you how to go to war in the mythical plane. I will also tell you about your father. Di Longtian began to trick this group of little fellows, trying to get them to join the ancient massacre god. In the end, this group of little fellows didn't have much experience in scheming. They were immediately lured into the ancient massacre god by Di Longtian. Zhang Yun shrugged and looked at Di Longtian. This boy wasn't much older than him. He was very envious. It was a pity that he was born more than 10 years later. Otherwise, he would definitely be able to kill his way into the mythical plane like Di Longtian. However, this group of little fellows was also envious of Zhang Yun, at this moment, in the mythical plane, the Western Garrison Prefecture. Yi Qinghan couldn't have imagined that Di Longtian would actually trick those little fellows into joining the ancient godly massacre god after returning to the ancient godly massacre god, speeding up their journey to the mythological plane. Right now, they were bitterly cultivating secret arts and guarding the Western Suppression Prefecture. In the blink of an eye, more than a month had passed. The gathering of treasures from dozens of auction houses of the three clear divine kingdom had attracted thousands of powerful practitioners. Now, the Western Garrison Prefecture was filled with danger from all sides. Even the Western Garrison Liege Lord had to be extra careful. After obtaining the 12th grade fire origin, Silo had actually awakened the ancient massacre god's bloodline. The inheritance of the fire sovereign god's bloodline made him extremely majestic. His battle strength had increased by several times. The tempering of his body was almost not inferior to Yi Qinghan. He was still wearing that bamboo hat. It was as black as ink. His original appearance couldn't be seen. With the ancient massacre god's bloodline, it was easy to cultivate a secret technique. Yi Qinghan had taken a long time to execute the first move of the great Nirvana sword art. Moreover, its power wasn't even 30% of its peak. Silo had actually used a month to cultivate the first move. Its power had reached 50% of its peak. On this day, Yi Qinghan slowly got up and calculated the time. Today should be the day of the Western Garrison Prefecture's auction. He had to cooperate with the Western Garrison Lord to move the treasures to the auction house and guard the auction house. When he arrived outside Silo's room, Silo had just come out of seclusion. His aura had become deep and silent. He was like a volcano that could erupt at any moment and could destroy all life in his vicinity. Let's go take a look at the auction. You might like something. Yi Qinghan smiled and said. I don't have money. Silo was helpless. He had been on the run all year round. How could he have the opportunity to earn divine crystals? Count it on me. You can slowly pay me back in the future. Yi Qinghan grinned. He always wanted to tie Silo to his chariot. Silo wouldn't be able to escape even if he wanted to. He wasn't afraid of how many divine crystals Silo would use. He was only afraid that Silo wouldn't use enough. Then I won't be polite. Silo shrugged. He already owed Yi Qinghan a favor. Just this fire origin alone had awakened the ancient massacre god's bloodline. It was enough for him to repay this debt for a long time. In addition to the great Nirvana sword art, why would he care about using Yi Qinghan's divine crystals? The two found the Western Garrison Lord and began to move the treasures to the auction house. Chapter 626. Yi Qinghan was dressed in black and wore a bamboo hat. He walked side by side with Si Luo into the West Garrison auction house. At this moment, the West Garrison Prefecture was packed with people. The army of the West Garrison Prefecture had all retreated back to the outskirts of the city. They were afraid that there would be experts causing trouble. There were many strangers. Even those who were as strong as the prefecture head could be seen. Most of them were gods and overlords. Ordinary families were as numerous as the hairs on a cow. Some rich young masters and chief disciples of the sects were accompanied by Tao protectors as they descended to the west garrison. The divine bird sat on Long Shue's shoulder, trying to trick her. Fortunately, Long Shue had been warned by the western garrison liege lord. Otherwise, she would have been tricked by the divine bird. In any case, Long Shue was a princess of a royal family, an evil little witch. Although she had no wisdom, she was smart. However, she couldn't outsmart the divine bird. In the end, she still got into trouble. A few young experts appeared in front of her. They were dressed in Tian-Ke Divine College's uniform. Each of them was arrogant and full of battle intent. Their battle strength was definitely not weak. Moreover, they had a huge family behind them. They didn't care about this small west garrison. Get out of my way. The leader was a powerful young man. He had the battle strength of an extreme lower-level almighty. Just by his realm alone, he could suppress those of the same level. Coupled with his high status as a divine college disciple, ordinary people wouldn't dare to provoke him. His name was Su Feiyue. He was a top expert in the second year of Tian-Ke Divine College. He was even stronger than Mu Feilong. Behind him were 3 men and 4 women. Behind him was the 12th rank Su family. They had 10,000 years of history. Many people recognized their origins and hurriedly made way for them. Fuck, these birds are more arrogant than you. Beat them to death. The divine bird was angry when it saw the Tian-Ke Divine College's disciples. It wanted to teach them a lesson, but it didn't dare to do it. Long Shue curled her lips. Although she didn't like these people in front of her, listening to the divine bird's words would definitely cause trouble. Therefore, she suppressed her anger and ignored the divine bird. Seeing that Long Shue was holding back, the divine bird snorted. It looked at Su Feiyue and the others who ran in front of it. It took a deep breath and spat out a mouthful of fire. Then, it changed its voice and imitated Long Shue's voice. The Divine College actually teaches such trash. Unable to withstand a single blow. After saying this, the divine bird quickly lay on Long Shue's shoulder and pretended to be dead. Su Feiyue and the others had their backs set ablaze by the divine fire, and their hair was instantly burnt away. The tearing pain caused them to scream in agony. Although the divine bird's fire was not as powerful as the little golden crows and Yiqinghan's, it was enough to make the lesser gods feel pain. Ah, the heart-wrenching screams of the delicate girls instantly alerted the surrounding experts. They all turned their heads and saw the girls dancing with joy. Gloating smiles appeared on their faces. With a wave of his hand, Su Feiyue extinguished the flames and glared at Long Shue. Seeing that she was a beauty, he cursed, "Slut, you dare to sneak attack my people. Today, I'll properly take care of you." Boom! Su Feiyue stretched out his hand and tore open space, grabbing at Long Shue. Clearly, he didn't know that she was the beloved daughter of the Western garrison. Long Shue had never been scolded like this before. She directly used the divine tool that the Western garrison liege lord had given her, which contained the peak attack of the Western garrison liege lord. Boom! Bang! Su Feiyue's palm was pierced through by the sword. Even his entire arm was blown to smithereens. He let out a blood-curdling scream and fell into the distance, smashing several of his followers into the ground. "You dare to scold this princess? I'll beat you to death." Bang, bang, bang. Boom, boom, boom. With the help of the garrison liege lord's offensive divine tool, Long Shue instantly suppressed Su Feiyue and began to fight with the group of pursuers. A large number of guards arrived. When they saw that their princess was actually fighting with these people without any reason, more than 100 low-level god priests were ganging up on these 7 or 8 disciples of the Heavenly Imperial Divine Academy. Miserable screams immediately filled the sky. Everyone hurriedly dodged. "Serves you right for being so arrogant." Ha ha ha, this is going to be a good show. The princess of the Western Garrison Liege Lord and the disciples of the Heavenly Imperial Divine Academy are fighting. I wonder if the people behind them will be angered. Those who were able to attend the auction all had high statuses. They didn't want to become enemies with these two parties, but that didn't mean that they didn't dare to gloat. Throw them out of the Western Garrison Liege Lord's residence. Long Shui angrily reprimanded. You bitch, I'm going to kill you today. In any case, Su Feiyue was the young master of a large aristocratic family and a high and mighty student of the Heavenly Imperial Divine Academy. How could he endure such humiliation? He directly roared, and his voice shook 1,000 miles. He wanted to attract the experts of his family. Ha ha ha, Long Shui was so angry that her whole body trembled. She had always been the one bullying others. How could she be bullied by others? Go. Hang this bastard up on the city wall for this princess. I want to beat him to death. Long Shui roared. A large number of guards rushed towards Su Feiyue and the others, preparing to use the god-binding chains to tie this group of people up so that Long Shui could vent her anger. All of you, stop. A low angry roar filled with dense killing intent caused the surrounding people to not dare to move. It was the aura of a mid-level almighty expert. The elder of the Su family, Su Chuan, took a step forward and looked down. He stared at Su Feiyue, Long Shui and the others and coldly said, "What? Are you bullying us because we're outsiders?" Long Shui was about to go crazy from anger. The divine bird was playing dead. Only now did she understand that this fellow was really despicable to the extreme. This princess is bullying you guys? This trash of yours called me a despicable person the moment he opened his mouth. I want the Su family to give me an explanation. Otherwise, I will definitely kill him and no one will be able to stop me. Long Shui angrily rebuked. Ancestor, she was the one who set the fire and attacked us first. She humiliated my divine college and even used her guards to beat us. She clearly doesn't put my Su family and Tian Ke divine college in her eyes. Su Feiyue wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said with grievance. Ha ha ha, you can ask everyone around here if I was the one who set the fire just now. Don't tell me that everyone in this world is my Western Garrison servant. They won't lie, right? If they say that I ambushed you, I will kneel and apologize to you. If I wasn't the one who ambushed you, I want you to die. Do you dare to agree? Long Shui asked with a cold smile. I dare. Su Feiyue roared without hesitation. Everyone, was I the one who set the fire and ambushed them? I only want to ask, was it me? Whoever saw it can testify for me. Long Shui stared at everyone. Most of them were unfamiliar faces, but there were quite a few experts. Everyone laughed. This Su Feiyue was really unlucky. This fire really wasn't set by the Dragon Princess, ha ha ha. The people behind all testified, but they didn't point out that the fire was set by the divine bird. After all, both sides wanted an answer to confirm whether the fire was set by the princess or not. Su Chuan's face immediately turned ugly. It was impossible for so many people to be lying, especially those old bastards. They were all medium god priests, and some of them were even acquaintances. It was enough that it wasn't Long Shui who ambushed them. No matter who it was, today's conflict was Su Feiyue's fault. Boom! Su Chuan kicked Su Feiyue and sealed his divine power. He didn't even allow him to speak. Then he cupped his fists and said, Princess Long, Feiyue definitely didn't mean to offend you. This child is in the wrong. I will definitely bring him back and discipline him strictly. I hope that princess can be magnanimous and not bicker with him. Tisk Tsk, Tian Ke Divine College really teaches a bunch of idiots. The divine bird took advantage of the situation and still acted innocent. Tian Ke Divine College was implicated and was thoroughly humiliated. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. They were all amused by the divine bird's cheap appearance. Chapter 627. Yi Qinghan stood in front of the auction house, watching the divine bird teasing the disciples of Tian-Ke Divine College. Tian-Ke Divine College had already established a hostile relationship with Yi Qinghan, and it was only a matter of time before a fight broke out. "You seem to have more enemies than I do," Cairo said in a low and hoarse voice. "It's all right. If I want to reach the peak, I have to step on all these people." Yi Qinghan turned around and walked into the auction house. The interior design was similar to the Crazy Mansion auction house, but it was slightly smaller. It was divided into 4 levels, and the upper levels were all VIP areas. The 4th level was for mansion masters, and the 3rd level was for extreme middle god almighties. The 2nd level was for ordinary middle god almighties, and some ordinary family heads, sect masters, and elders. The 1st level was for ordinary lower god almighties, and there were even quite a few emperor-level figures. However, those who dared to come to the auction house had to have a high status. "Let's go to the private rooms on the 4th level." Yi Qinghan led Cairo to the 4th level. There were more than 50 private rooms on the 4th level, and they were arranged in a circle. The ceiling was like a dome. The private rooms had already been reserved in advance. Other than some prefecture masters and prefecture masters, there were also some extreme Tao almighties and top-notch existences in the middle god shrine. Their identities and backgrounds were all extraordinary. Yi Qinghan used his identity as Western Garrison Liege Lord to secure the last private room. Private room number 52. The two were dressed in black, and they were very eye-catching. However, no one recognized them as Crazy Mansion Master Yi Qinghan and Cairo, who was ranked 8th on the wind cloud list. In the open-air corridor, Yi Qinghan led Cairo into private room number 52. From the private room, one could see the entire auction house clearly. There were more than 30,000 people in this auction house. Western Garrison Liege Lord personally sat on the auction stage. He was wearing a royal robe, and his divine aura was overwhelming. The people below the 3rd level did not dare to make a sound. The mansion masters on the 4th level were as cold iron, and they only looked at the treasures without talking. Fellow Taoists, this auction organized by the 3 Clear Divine Kingdom has collected all the supreme treasures in the world, from primal chaos supreme treasures to top-tier mid-tier divine artifacts, and even half-step high-tier divine artifacts to top-tier emperor-tier divine herbs. All of them are the best of the best among the various grades of divine artifacts. Top emperor-tier divine artifacts, 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 top emperor-tier divine artifacts. The auction house will open today, and the auction will last for 10 days. I'm sure everyone knows the rules of the auction. The highest bidder will win, and no one is allowed to use their power to oppress others. If I find out that someone is using their power to oppress others, I won't let them off easily. Lord Zhenshi swept his gaze over the crowd, looking incomparably dignified. Finally, his gaze landed on the 4th floor. These people were the hardest to please. There were only a little over 100 of them, and they occupied 52 private rooms. However, their origins were not simple. Many of them were from God's organization. Even if they were not, they were still powerful existences at the level of prefecture masters. They were not any weaker than Lord Zhenshi. However, Western Garrison Liege Lord was not worried about this auction. The Garrison Liege Lord had sent 3 mansion masters to help him guard this auction house. In addition to Yi Qinghan and Cairo, 3 to 5 mansion masters who wanted to cause trouble could be suppressed. As for the other forces, even if they dared to cause trouble, they would have to consider whether the forces behind them could contend against the garrison liege lord. This garrison liege lord is naturally happy, but those who make things difficult for this garrison liege lord, I will make them very sad. Western garrison liege lord first gave a warning. There were more than 30,000 people, and it was unknown how many of them were overlords. They were unruly and difficult to serve. Without a warning, they would not know how to restrain themselves. All the heroes were silent. They knew that before the auction started, there would be a routine of intimidation. Most of the time, no one dared to cause trouble in the auction house. However, if someone really did cause trouble, the Western garrison liege lord wouldn't be able to intimidate the other party. Once that kind of person turned hostile, they definitely wouldn't put the divine nation and the Western garrison prefecture in their eyes. For example, even the divine nation's divine lord would have to give face to the last disciple of a superior god. Soon, Western garrison liege lord announced the start of the auction. The appraiser was the head appraiser of the 3 clear divine nation, Sima Sun. His name was well known everywhere. None of the goods sold by him were defective. Everyone could rest assured. The auctioneer was even more famous. Her name was known throughout the divine realm. Not only was her auction skills top-notch, but her appearance was also one of the top 10 beauties in the divine realm. She was ranked 8th, and her name was Yao Yan. It was said that her true form was a 9-tailed demon fox. She emitted a charming and enchanting aura. When the two appeared, the atmosphere in the auction house reached a boiling point. Many men looked at Yao Yan with infatuation, wishing that they could pounce on her. Yao Yan was indeed very pretty and charming. Her eyebrows were naturally shaped, making people infatuated with her. With such a person in charge of the auction, it would definitely arouse the bestial nature of men and make them flaunt their wealth. Yi Qinghan looked at Yao Yan's voluptuous figure and entered deep thought. Then, he thought to himself, if I can rope her in to join the Wild Mansion auction house, the Wild Mansion auction house would be halfway to success. However, such a woman was not that easy to rope in. Not to mention her beauty, her strength was already close to the level of a manor master. Who in the world would not give her face? Just at this moment, Long Shui followed the divine bird and tiptoed into private room 52. Then, she looked down with an expression of anticipation. Seniors, fellow Taoists, clan heads, and various overlords, how are you? Welcome to the Western Garrison Auction House. This time, this humble girl, Yao Yan, will be in charge of auctioning the various grades of divine herbs and supreme treasures. I hope that everyone will bid enthusiastically. Please do not make things difficult for this humble girl. Yao Yan smiled charmingly and gently blinked her right eye. A star-like light flashed and entered everyone's eyes. Many low-ranked cultivators nearly went into shock on the spot. Dong! 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 Many people's heartbeats quickened. Yao Yan's gaze was filled with charm, indiscriminately attacking the hearts of everyone on the 4th floor and below. Even those on the 4th floor were affected. From this, one could see how terrifying her charm was. Long Shui snorted and said disdainfully, "Vixen, you rely on your beauty to attract people. What a bunch of lustful men. No matter how much they cultivate, they will never be able to change their greed. TSK, TSK. That might not be the case. My master does not love women," the divine bird retorted. Long Shui looked at Yi Qinghan. He was currently drinking drunken god wine with Cairo. He did not even look at Yao Yan. Her eyes filled with stars as she rejoiced inwardly, as expected of the Wild Mansion master, Yi Qinghan. The man I admire is too handsome. Don't be infatuated with my master. Little master will beat you up. The divine bird mocked and it saw Long Shui's infatuated expression. Long Shui glared at the divine bird, unwilling to say anything more. She turned to look at Yao Yen. At this moment, Yao Yen took out a brocade box and smiled like a flower. Then, she said in a melodious voice, "Since everyone is so excited, let the auction begin. The first supreme treasure is something I carefully selected. It will definitely not disappoint everyone. It is a consummation profound mystery, the thunder profound mystery. It is suitable for experts of all levels. As long as you comprehend this profound mystery, why should you worry about not reaching the peak of the great Tao, that you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.